Chapter 2984. Man, at the end of the day, he's still my father, your grandpa. We're leaving him like this. I feel bad. Guanyin was a little down. Dad, think about it. It's been so many years. How did he treat you? How did he treat me? Even Zhao Qikuan. How did he treat him? Is there family in his eyes? He chose you because you're his puppet. You don't have a mind of your own, so he can still control House Zhao. He chose me because I help him level up, made him in his sky class. Zhao Qikuan, on the other hand, hated Lin Yi, so he always made things difficult for him. Zhao Qibing curled his lips and said nonchalantly, if we want to deal with Lin Yi, we need someone else to do it. Now that the opportunity is right in front of us, we'd be idiots if we don't grab it. Man, I know that your grandpa wouldn't have believed me even if I told him. Who knows, I might have been left behind as well. Guanyin knew Elder Zhao's temperament. If he'd told Elder Zhao that Lin Yi might have recovered and come back for revenge, would he have believed him? If it weren't for the fact that Zhao Qibing had just come back to visit his family and heard that Lin Yi was here for revenge, out of fear for Lin Yi, Zhao Qibing would have brought Zhao Guanyin and Elder Mian to run for their lives. Elder Mian ran with them because he was smarter than Elder Bai. He knew exactly how Elder Bai had died. Lin Yi had killed him, and he didn't want to follow in Elder Bai's footsteps. Right, that's why I didn't want to tell that old guy. Qibing said, Dad, don't be too saddened. There'll be more chances for revenge. When we come back, that Lin Yi will die. No matter how strong that Lin Yi was, how could he be a match for the ancient sex? Didn't you see how powerful the black-clothed Elder of Dark Palace was in front of Lin Yi? He was just an Earth-class master, but old Pai, a Sky-class master, didn't dare to make a move. If not for the heavenly silkworm transformation's interference, Lin Yi's family would have been ruined. That's true. Zhao Guangyi nodded. The hidden plane was a very powerful existence in the secular world, but in the face of the ancient plane, it was nothing. But he was a little worried. Oh right, isn't there a grudge between the Dark Knight Palace and the Heavenly Elixir sect? It won't be a problem for us to visit the heavenly silkworm transformation so rashly, right? Haha, haven't you heard of this saying? There are no eternal enemies in front of benefits. Let's place this top-notch cultivation vessel in front of the heavenly silkworm transformation. What hatred is there? Qibing waved his hand. Plus, I'm a core disciple of the Dark Palace. They have to give face to the ancient level. I hope so. Zhao Guangyi nodded. But I really didn't expect Big Zhu and Second Zhu to be Lin Yi's people. They wanted to steal Chun Shi from us at such a critical moment. Luckily, the three of us are Earth-class masters and subdued them. Otherwise, the plan wouldn't have been able to proceed. Actually, when I caught Yining last time, Lin Yi came looking for me. I felt that something was wrong and started suspecting the Second Zhu, but I didn't have any evidence. I was on guard this time, but I didn't expect it to really be them. Qibing humphed coldly. If it wasn't for the urgency, I would have killed them to vent my anger. This time, we're all on the same side. Once we reach the Heavenly Elixir sect, there won't be any Lin Yi spies around us. We'll be completely free from Lin Yi's shadow. Elder Mian nodded. In the Heavenly Elixir sect, Kong Xiaoming was sitting in Tian Chan's room. He carefully smiled. Ever since ancestor Xianxin told him that although he had a relationship with Xianxin, he had to maintain a good relationship with Tian Chan, Kong Xiaoming began to deliberately flatter Tian Chan, because he could see that if he wanted to have the right to speak here, relying on the Xianxin ancestor wasn't enough. Tian Chan would give face to the Xianxin ancestor, but she wouldn't give face to him, Kong Ming. Little Ming, what's the matter? Tian Chan could naturally see that Kong Ming was a fickle person. But how smart was Tian Chan? She had been sitting in the position of the young master with the identity of Tian Chan. She couldn't show her emotions on her face. Young Master Tian, I heard that your practice requires a few girls with excellent physiques as a furnace. Kong Ming acted first and reported later because he felt that this matter was in the bag. Oh, who did you hear this from? Tian Chan asked expressionlessly. Ugh. In this sect, the elders with some status all know that your previous maid Tian Dai. Isn't she a good furnace? Kong Xiaoming said carefully. Oh, so what? Tian-chan nodded. For the sake of the Xinshan ancestors' plan, she had indeed disguised herself as a vicious and lecherous young master. As for Tian Dai, Tian-chan had announced to the public that she had been used as a furnace to cultivate to death. I heard that these years, young Master Tian has been looking for another good furnace to replace Tian Dai. Kong Mingming saw that Tian-chan didn't show any displeasure, but confirmed his words, so he was relieved and continued to ask. That's right. How can it be so easy to find a furnace? Why are you asking this? Tian-chan didn't even look for a furnace. She said that she was looking for a furnace, but that was just a cover. Whether or not she found one, wasn't it up to Tian-chan to decide? Hee, young master, there's a perfect furnace in front of you right now. What do you think? Kong Mingming finally let out a sigh of relief. It seemed like he had done a great job this time. What perfect cauldron? You're saying you're a furnace? Tian-chan paused and looked at Kong Mingming strangely. Aren't you a guy? Are you actually Kong bro? Of course not. Kong Mingming felt a little awkward after hearing Tian-chan's words. He quickly explained, it's like this. Zhao Qibing, a core disciple of the Dark Palace, has sent you a perfect furnace for your cultivation. He's on the way now. Zhao Qibing from the Dark Palace? Tian-chan was a little annoyed at Kong Mingming for being a busybody, but she couldn't reject him on the surface. She could only pretend to be happy. Oh, didn't I just teach him a lesson? Why is he sending me a furnace now? Is there something wrong with this? I can guarantee that there's no problem. Kong Mingming shook his head and said with certainty. Chapter 2985. This is what happened. That Lin Yi ignored the restrictions of the ancient sects and destroyed the hidden house Zhao. Zhao Qibing went back to visit his family and ran away with his father. He wanted us to take his father in, so he gave his sister, Zhao Guangyin's daughter, to you as a cultivation vessel. What? The cultivation vessel is Zhao Guangyin's daughter, Zhao Qibing's sister? They're willing to do that? Tian-chan felt that this was so weird. Of course, she's an illegitimate daughter, no feelings. Most importantly, she's Lin Yi's godsister. Heh, the love sister type. Kong Mingming explained with a sinister smile. They think that if this girl is harmed by the young master, Lin will definitely go crazy, but they won't dare to reason with you, young master. This way, Zhao Qibing will see Lin Yi hurt, and he'll be taking revenge for the hidden house Zhao? Lin Yi's love sister? Tian-chan's face changed slightly, becoming a little unnatural, but she quickly covered it up. If that's the case, bring her to me. Yes. Kong Mingming was overjoyed when he heard the agreement. They'll be here soon. I'll bring them to you as soon as possible. After Kong Mingming left, Tian-chan fell into deep thought. Her face changed again and again, as if she was having a mental battle. But finally, a flash of decisiveness appeared on Tian-chan's face as she made a decision. Qibing drove the car to the airport of a nearby city and boarded a private jet. This was the secret property of the hidden house Zhao's, and the registered name of the plane had nothing to do with the hidden house at all, but belonged to them in the dark. The plane flew straight to the Sky Elixir sect and quickly landed at the airport of the city closest to Sky Elixir. There was already a car arranged by Kong Mingming, and with Silkworm's permission, Kong Mingming used the resources of Sky Elixir sect. The car quickly brought Zhao Qibing, Zhao Guangyin, Elder Mian, and Chun Shi into Sky Elixir sect. In the guest room, they saw Kong Mingming waiting for them. Elder Kong, how have you been? I missed you so much since we last met. Zhao Qibing had worked with Kong Mingming to kill Lin Yi, but he was the leader at that time. Now, he had to respect Kong Mingming as his big brother. I've talked to the young master about you guys, Zhao Qibing said. Kong Mingming didn't exchange pleasantries with Zhao Qibing. Zhao Qibing was just a normal core disciple of Dark Palace, and he was an elder of Sky Elixir sect. There was a huge gap between their statuses, and naturally, Kong Mingming had to put on airs. You've brought them here, right? Yes. Zhao Guangyin quickly waved at Elder Mian, and Elder Mian placed the unconscious Chun Shi on the ground in front of Kong Mingming. TSK, the little beauty, the young master will definitely like her. Kong Mingming looked at Chun Shi's face, very satisfied. If Chun-Shi's looks were all over the place, he wouldn't be interested in Silkworm no matter how good of a furnace she was. That's good, that's good. Zhao Guanyin breathed in relief. It seemed like it was done. I'll bring you to the young master. You'll know what to say then, right? Some things can be said, some things can't be said, so don't speak thoughtlessly. If you piss off the young master, you'll be in for it. Kong Ming warned. Don't worry, Elder Kong. I'm someone who's been in Dark Palace for a long time. I know the rules, Zhao Qibing said quickly. Kong Xiaoming nodded and led the Zhaos to the Silkworm transformations room. After Little Peach informed them, they entered without a hitch. Young Master, Hidden House Zhao Qibing, Zhao Guanyin, Mian Huqing, and Furnace Chun-Shi are all here. Kong Ming introduced them one by one to Silkworm transformation. And Zhao Qibing, I didn't think we'd meet again. Tian Chan looked at Zhao Qibing and asked, You're too courteous, young Master Tian. I've offended you last time. I'm here to apologize, young Master Tian. Zhao Qibing didn't see anything amiss. After all, back in Lin Yi's villa, he didn't dare look at Silkworm transformation directly. Even now, he didn't dare look at it directly, so he didn't realize that the two Silkworm transformations weren't the same person. Of course, unless it was someone from the Sky Elixir sect, outsiders wouldn't be able to tell the difference between Tian Chan and Tian Dai. Oh, so that's how it is. Tian Chan glanced at Chun-Shi on the ground and asked, This is the cultivation vessel you gave me? That's right. Zhao Qibing said quickly. She's a great furnace, but because House Zhao doesn't have a suitable method, we can only use normal methods to train her. Young Master, you can train her a bit, and she'll become a great furnace. Oh, I heard that this is your sister, Lin Yi's lover? Tian Chan nodded. Yes. Zhao Qibing nodded. But don't worry, young Master. She's still a virgin. She's definitely still a virgin. I can see that. You don't need to tell me. Tian Chan waved her hand. All right. I know your goal. Little Ming told me already. How about this? Zhao Guanyin, you and Mianhua stay here and train with Elder Kong Ming. Yes. Thank you, young Master. Zhao Qibing was overjoyed. Kong Ming was someone he knew, and following him would give him hope for revenge in the future. Kong Ming was also Lin Yi's enemy, so they could work together. Tian Chan saw Zhao Qibing's expression. How could she not know what he was thinking? But putting all of Lin Yi's enemies together meant that Tian Chan could keep an eye on them. Poor Zhao Qibing and Zhao Guanyin. I didn't know any of this at all. They were still immersed in the great hidden house Zhao's revival plan, dreaming of the day when they could borrow the power of Sky Elixir to revive the hidden house Zhao and kill Lin Yi. They didn't know that Tian Chan was just controlling them. Little Ming, take them to rest. I'll talk to this furnace alone. Tian Chan gestured for Kong Ming to leave. Yes, young Master. Kong Ming quickly nodded and gestured for Zhao Qibing and the others to leave. Since Silkworm Change had spoken, Kong Ming could arrange for Zhao Guanyin and Mianhua to be part of his team. Chapter 2986. After Kong Xiaoming left with Zhao Qibing and the others, Tian Chan carried Chun-Shi and entered her own secret room. This secret room had a formation set up by a master. Even if it was a Sky-class master, they wouldn't be able to hear what was going on inside. After entering the room, Tian Chan reached out and massaged Chun-Shi's body, and Chun-Shi slowly woke up. Opening her eyes, Chun-Shi looked at the unfamiliar environment and the unfamiliar people in front of her. She didn't scream, but subconsciously shrunk her body. Chun-Shi thought that she was ridiculous. Her own father had hurt her once, and she was stupid enough to trust him and see him again. She thought that she was safe in the school, and with Zhu Lao's protection, her father Zhao Guanyin couldn't do anything to her. But how could she know that Zhu Lao had been knocked out by Zhao Guanyin, Elder Mian, and Zhao Qibing? Not long after she came out, she was knocked out by her own father and taken away. Therefore, since the other party woke her up, it meant that she was brought to a place where the other party felt safe, which also meant that it was the other party's territory. Her shouting here was useless. Although she was young, she still understood these principles. She could only blame herself for being naive, thinking that her father was her father and couldn't hurt her. She didn't think that he would hurt her again. You're awake? Tian-chan looked at the delicate girl in front of her. She was cute, but was she Lin Yi's lover? Lin Yi had a tendency to like Lolis? That Yang Chi-Chi was also the petite type. You are? Where's this place? Chun-Shi didn't see her father and the others. She looked at the handsome man in front of her, confused. Am I handsome? Tian-chan smiled at Chun-Shi. Chun-Shi froze. She didn't think that this handsome man would ask this question. She didn't know what it was, but she nodded honestly. You're pretty handsome. Then do you want to be my woman? Tian-chan nodded and continued to ask. Her voice was very warm, making people feel comfortable. Chun-Shi shook her head. No. Why? Tian-chan asked with interest. Because I already have someone I like. Chun-Shi saw that Sky's silkworm had become very amiable and didn't look fierce, so she dared to speak some truth. Oh, then I'll go kill him. Tian-chan said faintly. Isn't that good? No. Chun-Shi was shocked and quickly shook her head. I was actually lying to you. I don't have anyone I like. Hee. Are you Lin Yi's little girlfriend? Tian-chan changed the topic and asked. Chun-Shi was stunned. She didn't think that the person in front of her actually knew Lin Yi. Then those words before, he must have been deliberately asked. I was just joking with you. I'm actually Lin Yi's friend. Tian-chan sighed, slightly in her heart. It seemed that Chun-Shi and Lin Yi really had a relationship. Really? Chun-Shi looked at Tian-chan with some vigilance, as if she didn't believe her words. To be honest, I'm a young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect. You were sent by your father and brother to be my cultivation furnace. To put it bluntly, you are my personal property. I can do whatever I want with you. Tian-chan said, Since I told you so much, I actually want you to know that I have no ill intentions towards you. Really? Chun-Shi felt that the person in front of her didn't seem to be lying to her. Then can you let me go? No. Tian-chan shook her head decisively and said, If I let you go, your father and brother will capture you again and offer you to someone else as a cultivation furnace. At that time, it won't be as easy as it is now. Do you understand what I mean? Oh, Chun-Shi nodded. What Tian-chan said was not unreasonable. If she really was a bargaining chip offered by her father for glory, then if she went back, they would definitely capture her again. Then what should I do? Stay by my side, be a maid. I will teach you the best cultivation method to become a cultivation furnace. Don't use your previous cultivation method. Tian-chan said. Then don't I have to become a cultivation furnace to be used by others? Chun-Shi was slightly stunned, not understanding what Tian-chan meant. What if this person is Lin Yi? Tian-chan smiled slightly. Do you want to become someone who can help him? Yes. Chun-Shi nodded shyly. One had to say, Tian-chan's words hit the nail on the head. Becoming someone who could help Lin Yi made Chun-Shi really happy. After all, Xiu had always instilled in her that the girls around Lin Yi all had their own specialties, and she didn't have much of an advantage over them. All she had to do was act cute, or seduce, but Chun-Shi wasn't good at any of that. Now that Tian-chan was giving her a chance to help Lin Yi, of course she was moved. From now on, your name will be Tian-Shi, and you will be my personal maid. But don't tell anyone about this. You will only be responsible for me, understood? Tian-chan said. Yes, don't worry. I won't trust my father or anyone else anymore. Chun-Shi nodded, a little embarrassed. But your personal maid, hee. Tian-chan smiled faintly and turned around. It was unknown how she did it, but she wiped her face a few times. Then, her beautiful hair scattered over her shoulders. She turned around and became a gentle and beautiful woman. Why you? You're a girl? Chun-Shi's eyes were wide open. If she still couldn't tell that this was a girl, then her eyes must have had problems. That's right, but can you keep this a secret for me? Including Lin Yi? Tian-chan nodded. Yes, don't worry, sis. I'll keep this a secret for sure. Chun-Shi nodded hard. She didn't know why, but she felt that Tian-chan was very trustworthy. It gave her a sense of security. Tian-chan, on the other hand, didn't know why she would show her true face in front of Chun-Shi. Perhaps she was Lin Yi's lover? Tian-chan felt that she could trust her. From now on, in front of me, call me young master. My name to outsiders is Sky Silkworm Transformation. Tian-chan said. Don't give yourself away in front of outsiders. Yes. Chun-Shi nodded. But after some hesitation, she asked weakly, Young master, can I contact Lenny Bro? Chapter 2987. And I got it. Chun-Shi nodded obediently. Then you have to tell Lenny Bro he'll be worried. Don't worry. I will help you convey it. Tian-chan said. Chun-Shi was relieved. After arranging a place for Chun-Shi to rest, Tian-chan fell into deep thought. With Zhao Guangyin's arrival at the Heavenly Elixir sect, the news of Lin Yi advancing to the early stage of Heaven Stage and flattening the hidden Zhao family also spread. Tian-chan was very surprised. Lin Yi was actually fine, and he even broke through to the early stage of Heaven Stage. Before, Tian-Dai saw with her own eyes how serious Lin Yi's injuries were. Could it be that all of this was an act by Lin Yi? Tian-chan really couldn't figure it out. How did Lin Yi recover from his injuries when his meridians and dantian were all destroyed and he couldn't even use the mantra? However, although Tian-chan couldn't figure it out, she was really relieved. That's right. How could the man she paid attention to fall so easily? Whether he had the ability to recover or it was all an act, Tian-chan felt that Lin Yi was very powerful. A rogue cultivator could destroy a hidden family. What kind of ability was this? Although this matter was very easy for an ancient sect that was a sect, how could it be compared to a rogue cultivator? As for Chun-Shi's news, Tian-chan didn't intend to directly call Lin Yi to tell him. What identity should she use to call Lin Yi? How should she say it? If Lin Yi asked her for people, should she give it or not? If she gave it, Tian-chan didn't care, but what would the Xianxin ancestor think? If she didn't give it, Lin Yi would definitely be unhappy, and Tian-chan would also be very unhappy. Therefore, Tian-chan decided to release the news that the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect, Tian-can, had become an excellent cauldron, but because this cauldron didn't have a good corresponding mantra, he decided to let this cauldron cultivate again and use it after 2 years. In this way, things became reasonable, and Lin Yi didn't have to worry about anything happening to Chun-Shi in 2 years. Of course, Tian-chan wasn't afraid that Chun-Shi would be taken away by others in these 2 years, not even by the Xianxin ancestor. After all, Tian-chan had to continue to maintain his lustful identity in front of outsiders, so it was absolutely impossible to give away what was in his pocket. Tian-chan breathed a sigh of relief when she thought of the future path for Chun-Shi. The Zhao father and son and Elder Mian settled down in the guest room, while Kong Xiaoming went to see the Xianxin ancestor. Disciple Kong Ming greets master. As soon as Kong Ming entered, he saw that Patriarch Xuanxin's expression was very ugly. He didn't know why Patriarch Xianxin was unhappy, but he knelt on the ground in fear and reverence. Kong Ming, who told you to send a cauldron to Sky Silkworm Transformation? Patriarch Xianxin asked coldly. Kong Ming was stunned. He didn't expect Patriarch Xianxin to be angry because of this. However, he didn't know what he did wrong. Master, didn't you say that I'm an elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect, and that I should build a good relationship with young Master Tian? I thought a servant girl was killed by him, and I found a cauldron to please him. Is there anything wrong with that? Patriarch Xianxin was stunned. He realized that he was indeed a bit impatient. Kong Ming didn't know the reason behind it. He didn't know that Sky's Silkworm Transformation was actually a female, so he did these things. Patriarch Xianxin knew that Tian-chan couldn't use a cauldron to cultivate. Cauldron cultivation emphasized the balance of yin and yang attributes. Both Tian-chan and Chun-Shi were yin attributes, so how could they be used? The so-called killing of a servant girl was just a rumor. Xianxin remembered that the servant girl had died in an accident. A cauldron is such a big thing. What if Sky's Silkworm Transformation doesn't like it if you don't discuss it with me? Wouldn't you be kissing up to the horse's feet? Patriarch Xianxin explained himself. I'm doing this for your own good. Sorry, master, disciple was impatient. Next time, Disciple will definitely discuss it with you first. Kong Ming Ming hurriedly said. I heard that Zhao Guangyin and Mian Huachuan are both Earth rank experts? Patriarch Xianxin asked. Yes, master. Kong Ming Ming hurriedly answered. Find a chance to test them. Ask them if they want to become stronger. If they do, I can help them. Patriarch Xianxin pondered for a moment and said to Kong Ming Ming. What do you mean? Kong Ming Ming was stunned. Master, you want to give them qi gathering pills? How can there be so many qi gathering pills for them? Patriarch Xianxin shook his head. I'm working with a force to modify cultivators. I don't know if it will succeed or if there are any drawbacks, so I wanted to find someone to try it out. Coincidentally, these two have come to me. So that's how it is. They might die easily. Kong Ming Ming nodded. Master is indeed sinister and ruthless. Even I didn't expect to make a move on someone from the hidden Zhao family. I'm impressed. All right, stop flattering me. I'll have little one follow you. When the time is right, show off your skills in front of those two from the Zhao family. They'll probably take the initiative to beg you to become stronger. Patriarch Xianxin said. That's true. Don't worry, master. I've made the arrangements. I won't let you down this time. Kong Ming Ming nodded and prepared to leave. Wait. When you leave, tell Little Peach to inform the Heavenly Silkworm transformation to come see me. Tell him that I have something to discuss with him. Patriarch Xianxin instructed. Yes, master. Kong Ming Ming didn't think too much about it. After leaving the door, he found Little Peach and asked her to inform the Heavenly Silkworm transformation to come see Patriarch Xianxin. Meanwhile, you want to find Little One to meet Zhao Guangyin and Mian Huachuan. The Heavenly Silkworm transformation knew that Patriarch Xianxin or Patriarch Xuanjin would definitely look for her because of the cauldron, so she wasn't surprised. She directly came to Patriarch Xuanjin's room and said respectfully, Disciple Tianchan greets Martial Uncle Xianxin. Tianchan, I heard that Kong Ming Ming gave you a cauldron. How do you plan to deal with this matter? Patriarch Xianxin didn't beat around the bush and asked directly. Martial Uncle Xianxin, I'm going to announce to the public that the cauldron's previous cultivation method isn't suitable. I'm going to have her cultivate a better cauldron cultivation method again. Then, I'll have her be one of my maids and temporarily replace Little Peach. Tianchan said, This way, I can hide the fact that I'm a woman and let everyone think that I didn't touch the cauldron because her cultivation method isn't suitable. That's not bad. Patriarch Xianxin nodded. Although he really wanted to give this cauldron to his other disciples, giving it to Tianchan was equivalent to wasting it. Chapter 2988. But for now, according to the outside world's understanding of Tianchan, she was domineering and lecherous. How could she possibly give her woman to someone else? Not to mention a high-quality cauldron. Of course, if the cauldron was left by Tianchan's side on the surface and given to her disciple in secret, Tianchan probably wouldn't allow it either. Since the cauldron was in Tianchan's hands, Tianchan might be considering giving it to her younger brother, Tianchange, or someone else from the Heavenly Elixir sect. Forefather Xianxin didn't want to cause trouble with Tianchan over such a small matter, so he could only nod in agreement. He was a little annoyed. Kong Ming Ming had directly given the cauldron to him, and he could still give it to the hidden Zhao families Zhao, Guangyin, and Mian Huachuan, just like now. But after the Heavenly Elixir sect, could he still take it back? Senior Uncle Xianxin, is there anything else? Tianchan naturally guessed what Forefather Xianxin was thinking when she saw his expression. However, Tianchan naturally wouldn't let him have his way. She pretended not to see it and asked, It's fine. You can go back. This Kong Ming Ming is really something. Watch me scold him for doing something like this. Forefather Xianxin pointed at the mulberry tree and scolded the locust tree. That's fine too. I'm also looking for a maid. Little Peach and Kong Ming Ming love each other, so I'm going to betroth Little Peach to Kong Ming Ming. It'll help them achieve their goal. That's why I need to find a maid. I'm guessing that Kong Ming Ming sent this cauldron to me. Tianchan purposefully misinterpreted Kong Ming Ming's intentions and said to Forefather Xianxin. Tianchan knew why Kong Ming Ming approached Little Peach. He just wanted to get close to her through Little Peach. Little Peach wasn't a stunning beauty, but Kong Ming Ming pursued her with all his might. The meaning behind this was self-evident. Oh, so that's how it is. Patriarch Black Earth was suddenly enlightened. He snorted coldly and said, "No wonder this kid didn't tell me beforehand." So it turns out that he wanted to exchange for Peach Blossom. I knew it. Patriarch Xianxin did not have any interest in women, so he did not think that Little Peach was beautiful or ugly. He believed Tian Chan's words. After all, Kong Ming Ming and Little Peach had been very close during this period of time. Patriarch Xianxin had also seen it. So, I think it's better to help Kong Ming Ming and Little Peach be together, Tian Chan said. All right, but you have to remind Little Peach to keep her mouth shut. If she reveals that you are a girl, don't blame me for being impolite to her. Her family will also die. Patriarch Xianxin said. All right, I'll pass on your message, Uncle Master Xianxin. Tian Chan nodded. All right, you may leave. Patriarch Black Earth waved his hand, indicating that Tian Chan could leave. When Lin Yi got back to the villa, Meng Yao and Yushu saw that Lin Yi's face wasn't looking too good. The miss asked curiously, Lin Yi, what's wrong? Is the hidden house, Zhao, not going well? Zhao Guangyin ran away and took Qinshi. I can't contact the Zhu brothers now. I don't know how they are doing, Lin Yi said with a frown. Ran away. Meng Yao paused. Yeah, but he only took Qinshi, not Ziyu. That's what I'm confused about. If Zhao Guangyin wanted to blackmail me, he should have done it now. But there's no news at all, Lin Yi said worriedly. That's strange. The eldest miss was stunned. Logically speaking, there was always a reason to kidnap someone. It was either to rob them of their wealth, to rape them, or to blackmail them. She was Zhao Guangyin's biological daughter. Even if Zhao Guangyin was worse than a beast, he shouldn't be able to do anything like rape. As for money, with She's poor family background, even if they had some money recently, it still wouldn't be enough to enter the eyes of the hidden Zhao family. The last one was blackmail, but he didn't do it to Lin Yi. Shield bro, Shu thought of a possibility. Yushu thought about it and had an idea. Could it be that Zhao Guangyin took Qinshi to give her a gift? Gift? Lin Yi didn't quite understand what Yushu meant. Zhuaniao Qiang slapped his thigh. That's right. Boss Lin Yi, why didn't we think of that? Sister Shu is the smartest. Previously, both of us wanted to kidnap Qinshi and use her as a cultivation cauldron. That Zhao Guangyin definitely knows about this. He can definitely give Qinshi away as a cultivation cauldron and ask for the protection and support of some big shots. Oh, that makes sense. Lin Yi nodded and looked at Yushu. Shu, do you think so too? Yeah, I think so too, Yushu said with certainty. Yushu said with certainty. This is in line with Guangyin's thoughts as well. Hidden House Zhao is no match for Shield Bro, and if he doesn't want to die, he'll have to find someone stronger to back him up. The only bargaining chip he has left is Qinshi. If that's the case, then Qinshi is in danger. Lin Yi frowned. But there's no point in panicking now. We can only slowly gather information, Han Tianba comforted. Lin Yi nodded, but soon there was news from the Hidden House Zhuang. Boss Zhu and second brother Zhu were found in an alley near the school, and both of them had different degrees of injuries. Boss Zhu's injuries were more serious, and they were on the way to Donghai. But Lin Yi felt that this wasn't normal. Boss Zhu and second brother Zhu were both Earth-class masters, and both of them were injured. The enemy needed at least 3 Earth-class masters to do this. Could it be that there was a third person other than Zhao Guangyin and Elder Mian? Zhao Qibing. Suddenly, he thought of Zhao Qibing. He picked up his phone and called Gu Xian. Boss, why are you calling again? It's so fast, I don't have any news. Gu Xian asked, confused. I'm not asking for news, but I need you to keep an eye on someone for me. Zhao Qibing from the Dark Palace. He's related to Qinshi. Lin Yi said. Oh, okay, I'll get some people to look for him, Gu Xian replied. Although this made Lin Yi very uneasy, he still had to live his life as usual. Before Gu Xian had any news, Lin Yi couldn't go around looking for Qinshi like a headless chicken. He could only do his own things. After breaking through to the early phase of Sky Class, He had a lot of things to do. He needed to practice the later moves of Fire Ba Zhang, find a suitable Sky-class weapon, and complete the second stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery. He could go back to West Star Village and open the third stone door at any time. Chapter 2990. After reaching Sky Class, he could use the Spring Rain Martial Technique to provide more stamina and pure chi. Would he be able to concoct Sky-class pills with Han Jingjing's help? However, the most important point was that he was in need of money. The medical company was barely holding on, but it didn't mean that they had made it through. After this batch of medicine was sent to the distributors, there would definitely be a gap. Before, it was the distributors who paid first and then the goods. But after this incident, which distributor would be stupid enough to pay first and then the goods? They would only pay when the goods arrived. This way, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company wouldn't have the money to produce the next batch of medicine. Fatty Lai had already told Lin about this, but Lin really had no other way. Among his lackeys, the richest was the secular House Liu. And now that the secular House Liu was done for, Lin really didn't have a place to look for money. The richest in the Hidden Plane were the Hidden House Yu and the Golden Clock sect. But these two were just feigning civility because they were afraid of Lin. If he really wanted money from them, it wouldn't be possible. Lin couldn't just go to their door and extort money, could he? The ancient level would probably interfere if he did this without a good reason, and that wasn't something Lin wanted to see. He'd had enough troubles recently, and he didn't want to cause any more trouble now that everything had calmed down. He could only take it one step at a time. Lin temporarily settled his lackeys and went to the backyard of the villa, ready to try activating the Fire Ba Zhang. When he was in the late phase of Earth Class, Lin could already activate the 8th form of the Fire Ba Zhang, but he couldn't activate the 9th form. Lin could already activate the 9th form of the Fire Fist. So Lin activated the mantra for the 9th form of the Fire Fist, and then he moved the chi to his palms, using the method of the 5-element Ba Zhang, and quickly activated it. Boom! There was an explosion in the yard. Although Lin only activated it in the air, the power was not to be underestimated. The huge explosion shocked Lin Yi's lackeys in the villa, but most of them were happy. Lin seemed to be stronger than before. This was the same as activating the 15th form of a normal martial technique. Before, Lin could instantly kill a mid-phase Sky-class master, and now Lin felt that he could kill a peak mid-phase Sky-class master. But whether or not, he had to test it first to know. What made Lin regretful was that after activating the 9th form, Lin Yi's body actually drained all the chi in his body, causing Lin to directly go limp on the ground. The 15th form generally could only be activated by a mid-phase Sky-class master. Now that Lin was activating it, it naturally consumed more chi. And Lin also found that the higher the level of the Fire Ba Zhang, the harder it was to activate it. It was not like when he was in the early phase of the Earth Class, where he could easily activate it. Now, every time Lin activated it, he had to use all his strength, and he couldn't activate it continuously. After quickly recovering his chi, Lin began to try activating the 10th, 11th, and 12th forms of the Fire Fist. However, these 3 forms seemed to be already memorized by Lin, activating them in one go without any hindrance. At the 13th form, it came to an abrupt stop, and even after activating the 12th form, Lin didn't feel as exhausted as when activating the 9th form of the Fire Ba Zhang. After that, Lin tried again and found that he could activate the 8th form of the Fire Ba Zhang twice. In other words, he could instantly kill 2 mid-phase Sky-class masters. Compared to before, this was an obvious improvement, but it still didn't reach Lin Yi's expectations. It could be said that the Art of Dragon Mastery had an obvious advantage before the Mystic class, and the All-Purpose skills had an obvious advantage before the Earth class. But now, Lin had stepped into the Sky class, but he still hadn't found an advantage. So Lin placed his hope on the 3rd stone door that was about to open. The news of Lin Yi's recovery spread like wildfire across the entire ancient world, and the Dark Palace, naturally, received the news long ago. At this moment, Zhao Qibing had returned and was sitting in the meeting room. Lin Yi, that freelancer, actually recovered his strength and reached the early phase of Sky Class? How is this possible? Wasn't he poisoned? Zhao Qibing, tell me what's going on. Wasn't it Kong Ming who poisoned him? The Grand Elder was exasperated. She thought that she would be able to take the 2 pills from Lin Yi's hands with her arrogance. But not only did she fail to take them, Lin Yi had become even stronger. The poison is fine, but this Lin Yi can't be judged by common sense. It's been like this many times in the past. Lin Yi looked like he was done for, but when his enemies arrived, they realized that Lin Yi was faking it. Zhao Qibing said bitterly, Kong Ming and I once saw Lin Yi, who was supposed to be unconscious, suddenly stand up and use a big move, turning a few of our masters into ashes. You're too weak. You're too weak. If I had to do it myself, that Lin Yi would be begging for mercy. The Grand Elder smiled coldly. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. How did your trip to Sky Elixir go? Did you resolve your grudge with Sky Elixir? Grand Elder, Elder Kong said that he would prioritize making Qi gathering pills for Dark Palace, and it'll be done soon. He's very happy about this. Zhao Qibing said quickly. That's good. The Grand Elder nodded. Last time, when Elder He Yi and Sky Silkhorn transformation had a conflict, the Grand Elder was afraid that it would affect the relationship between the 2 sects, so the Sky Elixir sect purposely made things difficult for Dark Palace. It just so happened that Zhao Qibing had this plan, so he made the trip. It seemed like the effect was achieved. You did well this time. Thank you for the compliment, Grand Elder. Although Zhao Qibing said that, he didn't think much of the Grand Elder. This was a classic example of bullying the weak and fearing the strong. In front of the Sky Elixir sect, he was the grandson, but in front of Lin Yi, he was the boss. But you're only good at talking. Do you want to get more to Lin Yi? Do you dare? With the restriction of the ancient sects, even if you were Sky Class late phase peak, you wouldn't dare to cause trouble in the common world. Ice Palace. Bingtang knew that Lin Yi had regained his strength earlier than the others, as Aunt Qing brought the good news to her. Chapter 2991 is actually in Heaven's stage. Rock Candy was a little emotional. It was rare for her to be able to enter Heaven's stage at such a young age. Although every sect had some elixirs, breaking through to Heaven's stage was different from other stages. Qi gathering pills were not used unless it was absolutely necessary. This was also the reason why the Palace of Dark Knights didn't use it until now. After all, once the Qi gathering pill was used, one's strength would be stuck at the moment of advancement. In the future, unless one kept taking Qi gathering pills or accepted the Enlightenment inheritance and no longer had the level barrier, the path of cultivation for the rest of his life would be locked. Yes, Palace Master, Lin Yi is really young and promising. If he wasn't Vice Palace Master Feng's boyfriend, Palace Master could also consider it. Aunt Qing said with some emotion. Rock Candy suddenly blushed. Thinking of her promise to Lin Yi to be his little wife, Rock Candy couldn't help but feel a little flustered. Watching Lin Yi grow step by step, was she really going to marry him? Back then, Rock Candy only said those words out of anger. She never thought that Lin Yi would really have such a day. But now that Lin Yi was already in the early stage of Heaven's stage, it was really hard to say what would happen in the future. Aunt Qing, when did you speak up for a man? Didn't you tell me before that men are unreliable? Rock Candy changed the topic because it was really hard for her to imagine what it would be like when she became Lin Yi's little wife. Back then, I and that man were interested in each other, but that man rejected me. But maybe he had his difficulties. I used to think that he looked down on me, but after he left for so many years and there was no news from the old palace master, I gradually understood that he rejected me for my own good. If he had accepted me back then, how would I have spent all these years missing him? Aunt Qing sighed. Although she didn't look old, her actual age was almost 40 years old. Oh, Aunt Qing, have you thought it through? Bingtang was stunned and looked at Aunt Qing in surprise. Yes, after experiencing Lin Yi's matter and seeing Deputy Palace Master Feng separate from his lover, and the two of them can't be together for various reasons, I figured it out. Maybe that person also has his own difficulties. Aunt Ching said, I just don't know how he is now. Is he living well? Aunt Ching, it's good that you've thought things through. Bing Tang heaved a sigh of relief. Aunt Ching's matter was also Bing Tang's concern. Aunt Ching, since you have thought it through, have you decided to get married? Of course not. Back then, that person said that if it was really possible, he would come back to find me. At that time, I thought that what he said was just perfunctory, but now that I think about it, maybe it really wasn't perfunctory. Aunt Ching shook her head and said, So, I will continue to wait. Bing Tang nodded. She understood Aunt Ching. This matter had been in her heart for more than 10 years. How could she let go so easily? However, Bing Tang finally found a chance to ask, Aunt Ching, because of a matter before I couldn't ask, but now that you have thought it through, can you tell me about what happened in the past? According to the rumors in Jianghu, the two masters who suddenly appeared were masters of the heavenly way, and your lover was actually a master of the heavenly way. It's really incredible. Hee, rumors are not necessarily reliable. In fact, I asked him if he was a cultivator and if he was a master of the heavenly way. At that time, he didn't answer directly, but he gave an ambiguous answer. Aunt Ching smiled. What answer? Asked Bing Tang. He said that he didn't know what level of expert he was. If I had to say, he should be an unranked expert because he was neither a physical cultivator nor a spiritual cultivator. However, he was more powerful than any cultivator in the world. Aunt Ching seemed to be lost in her memories. She thought back to those years and those things. More powerful than any cultivator. What about those people in that place? Bing Tang hesitated and asked. They should be more powerful. Back then, he killed Patriarch Mad Dragon with one punch in the everyday and everyday sect. Aunt Ching said, this isn't something that any cultivator can do. So, those rumors are true. Rock Candy had heard of these things before, but most of them were hearsay. Because of Aunt Ching, she did not delve into it. Only now did she know clearly. Then, what's his name? His name is Lin Dongfang. Aunt Ching remembered this unforgettable name. Lin Dongfang? Yeah, the same surname as Lin Yi. Bing Tang was slightly stunned, then looked at Aunt Ching with a faint smile and said, Aunt Ching, is it because Lin Yi's surname is also Lin that you favor him? Maybe. Aunt Ching didn't deny it, but nodded slightly and said, but, Lin, he has his own merits. Aunt Ching, you go and tell this good news to Xiao Xiao. After she hears it, she will be very happy. Bing Tang hesitated and said, Oh, Aunt Ching was slightly stunned. This wasn't like Bing Tang's personality. Because of her, Bing Tang had always been cold towards relationships since she was young. This time, she actually took the initiative to ask her to tell this news to Xiao Xiao. Actually, Aunt Ching, you have said so much to me, and I understand your feelings. Naturally, I also understand Xiao Xiao's feelings. I hate Lin, maybe because he is the first solo practitioner who dares to challenge the dignity of the Ice Palace, and also the first man who made me say things like being his little wife, so I've always been prejudiced against him. But, as Aunt Ching said, he is really powerful. Bing Tang had to admit that Lin Yi was a powerful person. A solo practitioner who could step into Sky class from Mystic class in such a short time was really unbelievable. Haha, that's good. Aunt Ching smiled. Actually, I also don't want to see you and Vice Palace Master Feng have a conflict because of this. Aunt Ching left, and Bing Tang fell into deep thought again. Unconsciously, she remembered the scene when Lin Yi came to the Ice Palace for the first time. Lin Yi stood in the snow, looking forward to meeting her. Even if he didn't eat or drink, he just stood there for half a month, just for Xiao Xiao. Chapter 2992. When he was at Mystic Phase, this goal was out of reach, but now it wasn't within reach, but it wasn't far away either. She thought about how Lin Yi fought for Tang Yun at House Tang's birthday banquet, and how he didn't hesitate to fall out with House Tang and even the Heavenly Elixir Sex Envoy. At that time, she thought that Lin Yi was overestimating himself, but now it seemed that it was the hidden House Tang who was overestimating himself. Now, in the hidden world, who would dare to go against Lin Yi's will? The hidden house, Zhao, would be their end. Thinking about this, Crystal Candy suddenly felt that Lin Yi wasn't that annoying anymore. He was a solo practitioner, and he was able to get to where he was today with his own hard work, one step at a time. He was different from the practitioners who came from big sects, and he could only rely on himself. The background of a hero was never questioned. Those two unknown masters were able to sweep through the ancient world. Weren't they solo practitioners? In fact, he might not even be a rogue cultivator, but he was still able to turn the ancient era upside down. Crystal Candy's view of Lin Yi changed unknowingly, and she was even happy for Xiao Xiao. To have a man who loved her like this. At least he was much better than Aunt Qing. Although Aunt Qing went to help Lin, Xiao Xiao still didn't have the mood to train. Aunt Qing could help for a while, but not forever. Lin Yi was crippled by poison, and this wasn't a small problem. There was no antidote for the poison, and Lin Yi's injuries were on his meridians and dantian. This was a vicious cycle, and no matter how good the medicine was, it couldn't heal Lin Yi's injuries. In the world of practitioners, if the dantian was crippled, it meant that the practitioner's path of training had ended, and he could only be a normal person for the rest of his life. Xiao Xiao knew that Lin Yi valued strength. Without strength, where would Lin Yi go? Just as Xiao Xiao was frowning, Aunt Qing walked into her room. Aunt Qing, hearing the footsteps, Xiao Xiao raised her head and froze. Aunt Qing, why are you back? Lin Yi's husband. How is he? Vice Palace Master Feng. I'm going to tell you a very important piece of news. Don't get too excited after hearing it. Aunt Qing finally untangled the knot in her heart today and joked with Xiao Xiao. If it were any other time, Xiao Xiao would definitely say, Auntie Qing, just call me Xiao Xiao, why call me Vice Palace Master Feng? But today, Xiao Xiao couldn't care less about that. She was thinking about Lin Yi, so she quickly asked, Aunt Qing, what was going on? What happened to Lin Yi? Something very big. Aunt Qing looked at Xiao Xiao with a serious face and said slowly, he broke through to Sky Class early phase. Xiao Xiao was so nervous that her heart was pounding. She didn't think that it would be something this big. This was indeed a big deal, but how could Xiao Xiao not think the worst when Aunt Qing said it like that? A smile appeared on Xiao Xiao's face as she complained, Aunt Qing, you're just scaring me. The news of the everyday sect and Lin Yi's recovery and annihilation of the hidden house, Zhao, naturally spread. When Pin Liang heard the news, he was a little surprised, but not too surprised. He was Lin Yi's earliest opponent since returning to the city, and he was also one of the opponents who understood Lin Yi the best. He saw Lin Yi's ups and downs a few times, and the rumors said that Lin Yi was injured, but Lin Yi stood up again in the end. This made it very easy for Pin Liang to accept that Lin Yi wasn't injured at all, and that he was pretending to be weak. Pir Yang, what do you think? Pin Liang frowned after receiving the news. Master, in fact, this has nothing to do with us. The news of Lin Yi being poisoned and the news of him kicking the Zhao family came back almost at the same time. We didn't plan to take advantage of him, but decided to use absolute strength. Let Brother Chun Yin take action. Even if Lin Yi is in the early stage of Heaven's stage, in front of the peak late stage of Heaven's stage, he will not be able to withstand a single blow, Chun Yang Tianzuan said. That's true. Is Pure Yin done with his isolation? Pin Liang nodded and asked. Not yet. With Pure Yin's current strength, it'll be very hard for him to break through, so he won't be able to come out anytime soon. Pure Yang said, if Master is willing, I can call him out earlier. Forget it. Disturbing his isolation might cause him to bite back and go berserk. There's already Zhang Naipeo in his heart, and our sect can't lose any more people. Pin Liang waved his hand. There's no rush to kill Lin. Let's wait until he's done with his isolation. Master has the final say. Let's wait and see. Pure Yang Heavenly Venerate hurriedly agreed. Dark Palace. Today was a day of celebration for the Dark Palace, because today, the Sky Elixir sect sent over a Qi gathering pill. Maybe it was because he gave the Sky Elixir sect a good cauldron, so Elder Xinshin specially ordered to make a Qi gathering pill for the Dark Palace first. Of course, this was just a gesture. Although the cauldron had no use for Tian Chan's cultivation, In order to express his fondness for the cauldron in front of the outside world, he quickly gave out a chi-amassing pill. 1. This chi-gathering pill is the last hope of our Dark Palace. After you take it, I will immediately send you to the Dark Phoenix mountain range for closed-door training. The moment you break through to heaven rank is the easiest time to comprehend the inheritance. At that time, you may become the inheritor of the metal element. The Grand Elder held the chi-gathering pill excitedly and said solemnly, I hope you don't waste this chance. Yes, Grand Elder. Well, I was a little nervous. Looking at the Grand Elder's excited eyes, she could only pray in her heart that the inheritance must be successful this time. Otherwise, even if she was the granddaughter of the old sect master, it wouldn't help. The Grand Elder was someone who was crazy about the development of the sect. In her eyes, nothing was more important than the interests of the sect. Even if it was the sect master, as long as he did harm to the sect, she could still remove him from his position and support a new sect master. One had to say, this type of person who didn't care about anything else for the sake of the sect was a weirdo in the ancient world. After one received the chi-gathering pill, she was sent to the Dark Phoenix mountain range by the Grand Elder to break through to Sky Class and receive the inheritance. However, the higher the expectations of the people in the Dark Palace, the greater the pressure on one. In fact, everyone knew that stepping into Sky Class would only increase the chances of receiving the inheritance by a small amount. Chapter 2993. Lin Yi's life became simple once again. Although the news of Lin Yi's breakthrough to the early stage of Heaven Class had spread, and Lin Yi's enemies had also gone into hiding, but Lin Yi was worried about Chen Shi, so he didn't leave the villa. In fact, Lin Yi's current priority was to go back to the West Star Village, then open the third stone door and get the benefits behind it. But without receiving any news about Chen Shi, Lin Yi's heart was not at ease. So in the past few days, Lin Yi still practiced martial arts in the villa every day, condensed the forging fire, and waited for Han Jingjing to come out of seclusion. He wanted to increase her strength to the late stage of Earth Class, and then see if she could refine a third-level pill. The only thing that made Lin Yi happy was that he had made great progress in condensing the forging fire. Maybe Lin Yi's strength had improved, or maybe Lin Yi was diligent in practicing. In short, Lin Yi could now increase and decrease the attributes of the forging fire at will, but he still couldn't change the temperature and intensity of the fire. These two aspects still needed further practice. But no matter what, Lin Yi had improved a lot compared to before, and this change made Lin Yi very happy. At noon, Lin Yi finished his practice and was ready to increase the strength of his spirit beasts. But before Lin Yi reached the backyard, the phone rang. Lin Yi picked it up and saw that it was Gu Xian. He quickly pressed the answer button. Gu Xian? How is it? Is there any news? Boss, there's news. I was just about to tell you about it. Gu Xian had just received the news and quickly dialed Lin Yi's number. Zhao Guangyin and Chun, she went to the Heavenly Elixir sect, and at present, Chun Shi was given to the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect as a furnace by Zhao Guangyin. And because of his contributions, Zhao Guangyin became the disciple of the 8th elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect, Kong Ming Ming. Oh, Chun Shi was sacrificed as a cultivation vessel? Lin Yi's heart suddenly jumped. Although Lin Yi didn't know how to use the furnace, it was definitely not good for Chen Shi. He quickly asked, is she in danger? For the time being, there is no danger, because according to the information, Chen Shi has not systematically practiced the furnace mantra before, so the Heavenly Elixir sect has decided to let her practice the furnace mantra again in 2 years. So for now, it seems that no one is in danger. Gu Xian said, however, it's hard to say after 2 years. According to the news, the maid before the Heavenly Silkworm transformation was his furnace. Her name was Heavenly Butterfly, and she has been cultivated to death. One is already dead. Lin immediately frowned, but he was a little puzzled. The Heavenly Silkworm transformation he saw the other day didn't seem to be someone who practiced crooked ways. Could it be that the rumors were true, that the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect was a lecherous pervert? Yes, even the Heavenly Elixir sect admitted that one died, but they said it was an accident. But the rumors say that Heavenly Silkworm transformation used her as a furnace and sucked too much pure chi, and she died. Guxian said, Boss, you know that it's hard to say, but the rumors aren't unfounded. What Guxian didn't know was that the news of Heavenly Butterfly being used as a furnace was spread by the Heavenly Silkworm transformation herself. One, it was to cover up her female identity, and the other, it was to cover up the fact that she was hiding Heavenly Butterfly. But at least we still have 2 years. Guxian, help me keep an eye on the Heavenly Elixir sect and Chun-Chi. If there are any changes, let me know immediately. Lin Yi said after some thought. At least she was fine for now, and Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief. Boss Zhu and Second Zhu had been sent back by Lin Yi to protect Ziyu. Lin Yi had enough underlings around him, and the two of them wouldn't be of much use here. Plus, the news of Lin Yi becoming a Sky-class early phase had spread. In the Hidden Plane, there was no one who could fight him anymore. The Ancient Plane, on the other hand, had their own rules. They wouldn't casually enter the common world. After hanging up, Lin Yi called Ziyu and told her not to worry. That Chun-Chi was fine for now. He also told Boss Zhu to tell Chun-Chi's mother about the situation, but he could only tell her the truth. Chun-Chi had been sold by Zhao Guangyin, and although she wasn't in danger right now, it was enough for her to give up on Zhao Guangyin. She had to be more careful, just in case she fell for it again. Hidden House Tang, Elder Tang Taizhong had also heard about Lin Yi breaking through to Sky Class and annihilating the Hidden House Zhao. He was so scared that he couldn't sit still. Before, Tang Taizhong never would have thought that a solo practitioner like Lin Yi could grow to this extent. It was too unbelievable. Even at the Hidden House Summit, Tang Taizhong couldn't tell that Lin Yi was able to annihilate the Hidden House Zhao. At that time, he was naive enough to think that Lin Yi had caused the conflict between the Hidden House Yu and House Zhao to escape. He was still afraid of the Hidden House Yu and House Zhao. Lin Yi's excellence was only that of a junior. Compared to elders like them, it was like heaven and earth. But now, his illusion was shattered by Lin Yi's actions. For what he could see, Lin, a junior solo practitioner that he didn't even put in his eyes, suddenly became a crocodile that could swallow the Hidden House Tang at any time. Tang Taizhong was truly afraid. Tang Boss, Tang Yu, and Yu Xiaoxin were all called to the Hidden House Tang's meeting room. Tang Taizhong was like an ant on a hot pan, pacing around on the floor. What do we do? What should we do? Back then, we, the Hidden House Tang, offended Lin Yi and his father-in-law's family. What should we do now? Hidden House Zhao has been annihilated by Lin Yi. Next, it should be our Hidden House Tang's turn, right? Back then, when Tang Yun was accepted as Shuigu's disciple, Tang Taizhong wasn't too worried. He only regretted kicking Tang Yun out of the house. After all, an ancient sect wouldn't make a move on a hidden house just because of a small grudge. It was against the rules. However, Lin Yi was a solo practitioner. He didn't care about the rules and didn't play by the rules. He destroyed whoever he wanted. This was what worried Elder Tang the most. Chapter 2995. However, everyone in the Tang family cared about their face. Although they knew that they were the ones who caused the situation, they couldn't bring themselves to go to the Snow Valley to recognize Tang Yin. Especially when Xiao Ming was still in the Snow Valley, Boss Tang didn't dare to do this behind Yu Xiaoxin's back. If Yu Xiaoxin found out, she would definitely explode in anger and make a big fuss. But now, it was a moment of life and death for the Hidden Tang family. Face and whatnot could be abandoned. Tang Taizhong's tone had already softened. Why would eldest brother Tang still care about face? How about I make a trip to the Snow Valley and bring Xiao Ming back? Tang laughed, hesitated for a moment before he looked at Tang Taizhong and asked. Actually, bringing Xiao Ming back was equivalent to acknowledging Tang Yin. He would also become Lin Yi's father-in-law. Then, Lin Yi could not acknowledge his own family, right? How dare you? Before Tang Taizhong could say anything, Yu Xiaoxin exploded and loudly denied, "Are you still thinking about that bitch in your heart?" "Pa!" Tang Taizhong frowned. He was very dissatisfied with his daughter-in-law. But before he could reprimand her, Big Brother Tang couldn't help but slap her in the face. Why are you interrupting when men are talking? You slut, if it wasn't for you rejecting Xiao Ming, would our family be in this state now? Xiao Ming's daughter was Tang Yun. She is Senior Lin's girlfriend. With Senior Lin's support, our hidden Tang family might even become the ancient Tang family. You hit me. Yu Xiaoxin didn't listen to the latter part of Big Bro Tang's words. She directly became anxious as she pointed at Big Bro Tang and cursed. I want to go back to my mother's house and tell my father that you hit me. All right, Yu Xiaoxin, stop fooling around. Tang Taizheng finally couldn't take it anymore and scolded. Hiding in the Yu family is also difficult to protect. Do you think your father is some great hero? In front of Senior Lin Yi, it was just a fart. Senior Lin wanted him to destroy the hidden Zhao family, so he had to destroy it. Otherwise, he would have to die. However, he is lucky to have a chance to be Senior Lin's dog to resolve his grudges. Our hidden Zhao family is a step behind. After being scolded by Tang Taizheng, Yu Xiaoxin suddenly came to her senses. Yes, Lin Yi was no longer the Lin Yi of the past. She had always regarded the hidden Yu family as a big backer, but in front of Lin Yi, didn't they order them around like dogs? Thinking of this, Yu Xiaoxin shut her mouth and did not dare to say anything more. Grandpa, I support Father's suggestion. I'll accompany him to the Snow Valley to reunite with him. Even if I can't bring Ani Xiao Ming back, our relationship will at least be better. At least my relationship with Ani Xiao Ming is still not bad. Tang Yu said, as for Lin Yi, I have a good relationship with him. I don't know if he could do me a favor. Of course, if Lil Sis Tang Yin helps, then there won't be a problem. That's good too. Tang Taizheng nodded in agreement and patted Tang Yu's shoulder. Yu, now it seems that you have the most foresight in our hidden Tang family. Not only did you have a good relationship with your Ani Xiao Ming, you also had a good relationship with Senior Lin Yi. This way, not only can our Tang family resolve our grudges, we might even be able to rise to the next level. Xiaoxin, look, how powerful is your son? Unlike you, petty and narrow-minded. If Xiao Ming comes back this time, her position in the family will be the same as yours. She will be a second wife. If you dare to bully her, then scram back to the hidden Yu family and wait for death. Don't implicate our hidden Tang family. Tang Taizheng thought of the possibility of obtaining Lin Yi's support, and the hidden Tang family would soar. In this way, the hidden Yu family's help and power would not be worth mentioning at all. Yu Xiaoxin nodded submissively, but didn't dare to make a scene. Even if she was stupid, she could see that Lin Yi was now more powerful than the hidden Yu family and the hidden Tang family. If she offended Lin Yi, then her family would be ruined. Dad, don't worry, I won't dare to do it again. But you have to thank me for giving birth to Yu. If it wasn't for him, how would we have the chance to meet Lin Yi? And Tang Taizheng nodded and calmed down a little. How about this, boss? You guys pack up and head to Snow Valley. The sooner this matter is settled, the better. Otherwise, if Senior Lin Yi is free and decides to attack our hidden Tang family, we will be caught unprepared. Okay, Boss Tang and Tang Yu quickly agreed. However, the hidden Tang family was worrying over nothing. Lin Yi didn't really remember what happened in the hidden Tang family. His memory was messed up because of the senseless herb's medicinal liquid. He couldn't remember what conflict he had with the hidden Tang family, so it was even more impossible for him to find trouble with the hidden Tang family. Five Elements Sect. In the living room of the Five Elements Sect, Ancestor Xianshun was receiving 3 people from the secular world. However, for Ancestor Xianshun to personally come out to receive them, these 3 people's identities were definitely not ordinary. Ancestor Xianshun, I've heard a lot about you. Among the 3 people, the leader was a woman who was a little too young. At this moment, facing Ancestor Xianshun, her attitude was neither servile nor overbearing. Obviously, she was someone who had experienced a lot. Miss Luan, I'm afraid you've heard the name Xianshun not long ago, right? As for me, I've heard a lot about you. The person in charge of the largest overseas human potential research organization, the Center. Ancestor Xianshun laughed and nodded to the young woman in front of him. Don't call me Miss Luan. I'm afraid I'm about the same age as you. The woman called Miss Luan said faintly. I wonder why Ancestor Xianshan is looking for me through Jiangwen. Forgive me for being blunt. Before, I was only guessing that behind the Firewolf Gang and the Red Conches, there was another larger and more high-end organization. The Firewolf Gang and the Red Conches sounded more like a branch of a certain organization. After thinking about it, it could only be more similar to the once flourishing center. Ancestor Xianshan said, so, with an attitude of giving a try, I invited you through Jiangwen. I really didn't expect that after the center was destroyed, I became much more low-key, but Ancestor Xianshan still connected the Firewolf Gang and the Red Conches to our center from clues. Miss Luan said with a smile. Chapter 2996. Haha, if you have something to say, just say it. Miss Luan didn't continue talking to the Xianshan ancestor and asked directly. Because Jiangwen had earned a lot of money recently, he directly entered Miss Luan's line of sight from the leader of the northern branch of the Firewolf Gang. It just so happened that the Xianshan ancestor sent someone to invite Jiangwen and the leader behind him to Five Elements sect as guests, so Miss Luan appeared. If it was an ordinary sect, Miss Luan definitely wouldn't appear, but Five Elements sect was different. Miss Luan had also heard of this sect that stood at the top of the pyramid of the cultivation world, so she agreed to come. And this was the first time Jiangwen saw the biggest boss of the Firewolf Gang and Red Conch. However, being able to enter the eyes of the biggest boss meant that it wasn't far from Jiangwen's meteoric rise. Great, the Xianshan ancestor nodded and said, I've been in contact with little brother Jiangwen before. It just so happens that Professor Yin wants to use a few practitioners to experiment and create a new type of modified biohuman. I can provide 2 practitioners here. Oh, what's the condition? Miss Luan wasn't stupid and asked directly. After all, it was a very difficult thing to find practitioners to experiment on. Which practitioner would be willing to accept the modification so easily? However, it was useless for ordinary people. Professor Yin had already modified many times and still couldn't achieve a breakthrough, so he could only find practitioners. Moreover, practitioners were very strong. If they didn't accept the modification voluntarily, no matter how strong the Firewolf Gang was, they wouldn't be able to capture a few practitioners to obediently cooperate with the modification. I heard that the Firewolf Gang is good at turning the dead back to life. As long as there are living tissues in the body, they can turn this person into a biohuman. Is that so? The Xianshan ancestor asked. That's right. What do you want to do? Miss Luan didn't deny it. However, this technology is quite advanced. It's still difficult for Yin Siren to do it himself. This is also the reason why I'm looking for Miss Luan. The Xianshan ancestor said. If Miss Luan can do it herself, I'm afraid things will become much simpler. How about it, Miss Luan? Can you help me? Who do you want to revive and modify? Miss Luan did not agree, nor did she refuse. She only asked. She was also estimating the bargaining chips, trying to see how much benefit this matter would bring to her. It's a grand disciple of mine. He was beaten into a vegetative state and is currently unconscious. As long as he wakes up, the attribute structure in his body remains the same. To put it bluntly, it's to retain the strength of a cultivator. The person that Patriarch Xianshan was referring to was naturally Tagonlong. Now that the dark seed, Tian Chan, had failed to accept the inheritance, Patriarch Xianshan had no choice but to target Tagonlong again. However, there was no hope for him to concoct the 4th-rank Great Revitalizing Pill. It was something that was out of his reach. He had no other choice but to think of other ideas. After thinking for a while, he focused on the Firewolf Gang and prepared to make a deal with them. Definitely not. What Patriarch Xianshan did not expect was that Miss Luan rejected his idea with one sentence. If you want your grand disciple to come back to life and have extraordinary strength, that's not a problem. However, if you want to retain the attributes and strength in his body, at least for now, I can't do it. If it's a normal person, I can give it a try, but the key is that your grand disciple is already seriously injured. I have to change some of his genes to revive him. Who knows if the attributes in his body will change? Miss Wan directly rejected this kind of thing that could not be done, lest there be problems in the future. Is that so? Patriarch Xianshun was a little disappointed. So I said, try using a cultivator that we provide here first. I've already said that a living person is different from a dead person. There's no comparison. Miss Wan shook her head and refused. Can't you think of a way? Patriarch Xianshun was a little unwilling. Whatever price you want, just name it. I really can't. Miss Wan shook her head and said indifferently, you also know the style of our center. We can cooperate with others, but we won't easily agree to things that we can't do. Professor Wan, Patriarch Xianshun, I heard a rumor. I don't know if you want to hear it. Jiang Wen suddenly interrupted. Oh, what rumor? Patriarch Xianshun looked at Jiang Wen and asked quickly. He naturally wouldn't think that Jiang Wen would talk about something unrelated to this matter at this time. If he spoke at this time, it must be related to Taganlong's injury. Some time ago, Lin Yi was poisoned and had his meridians and dantian destroyed. I'm sure you're familiar with this, right? Jiang Wen asked. But Lin Yi recovered later on. Do you know why? I've heard of this, but do you know why? Patriarch Xuanxin's expression became solemn as he looked at Jiang Wen. I have a rough guess, Jiang Wen said proudly. According to my sources, after Lin Yi was injured, he was helpless, and a large group of subordinates rushed to Lin Yi's villa. This also means that the news of Lin Yi being poisoned and injured was true. Lin Yi shouldn't be faking it. Something really happened to him. Of course, no matter what, I was the one who gave the poison. It would be strange if it didn't work. Patriarch Xianshun nodded and said without hiding anything. Oh, this news surprised Jiang Wen. Patriarch Xianshun, you're also Lin Yi's opponent? Then why isn't Lin Yi dead yet? However, Jiang Wen was puzzled. How powerful was the Five Elements sect? Was there a need to poison Lin if they wanted to kill him? They could just send out a couple of masters and Lin Yi would be dead. Due to some reasons, my men and I can't do it ourselves. Patriarch Xianshun waved his hand and said awkwardly, let's not talk about this for now. Continue with your guess. Okay, back then, Lin Yi had been recuperating in the villa. However, someone came to the villa after that. Jiang Wen said, who? Patriarch Xianshun frowned. He was a little unhappy that Jiang Wen was keeping him in suspense. Sun Jingyi, Jiang Wen said, our family was once one of the 4 big and 5 small noble families in the secular world. We know very well what's special about the Sun family. That is, the people of the Sun family have a special incantation that can heal others. Chapter 2997. So, she had this ability? In the eyes of a Xianshun ancestor, the level of the common world noble house was very low. He didn't care about it all. He didn't even care about the matters of the hidden world, so he really did ignore the matters of the common Sun family. According to my guess, that must be the case. After all, only Sun Jingyi had this ability back then. No one else could. Plus, Lin Yi's dantian is destroyed, so he can't use pills. Jiang Wen nodded. Jiang Wen, you said so much. You want me to find that Sun Jingyi to heal my grand disciple? Xianshun ancestor asked. Sun Jingyi's definitely not going to make it. House Sun's arts can only heal one person, and after that, she'll only be able to heal that person for the rest of her life. It's useless even if you capture her. Jiang Wen waved his hand. What I mean is, you can find someone else from the Sun family and try. That a good idea. The Xianshun ancestor nodded. He wasn't too willing to capture Sun Jingyi. After all, he'd already made an agreement with Boss Bai. Although Sun Jingyi wasn't Boss Bai's student, she was still someone that Little 1 and Little 11 had touched last time. If he touched her again, it would be equivalent to not giving Boss Bai face, and it wouldn't be right. So, it was best to find someone else to replace her. I'm just saying, the specifics will depend on you, Xianshun ancestor, Jiang Wen said. Jiang Wen said, but my idea is worth the 2 test subjects, right? Oh, that's true. Since that's the case, you guys can modify those 2 test subjects. The Xiantian ancestor had wanted to use Zhao Guanyin and Mian Huachuan to exchange for some benefits, but he had to admit that Jiang Wen's suggestion was indeed very valuable. Miss Luan looked at Jiang Wen with praise. She felt that Jiang Wen was developing well, and that he was good at making money and negotiating with people. The two test subjects were supposed to pay the price, but Jiang Wen tricked them with a piece of information. In Siren, find a chance to see if the two test subjects meet the requirements, Miss Luan said to Professor Yin. Yes, Ancestral Master Luan. Professor Yin's name was In Siren, but he actually addressed Miss Luan as Ancestral Master. Miss Luan was actually Professor Yin's master's master. However, Jiang Wen seemed to have known about this a long time ago, so he didn't mind. Elder Xiantian was a little surprised. In his opinion, even if Miss Luan knew the science and technology, she was probably only about the same as Professor Yin. He didn't expect that as the leader of the center, she was actually Professor Yin's teacher. Miss Luan brought Jiang Wen and the professor to rest, waiting for the two test subjects to come. Xiantian, on the other hand, went to investigate Hao Sen. After learning that she was fine, Lin Yi decided to go to Star West Village. Lin Yi went next door to ask Han Xiaoqiao when Han Jingjing could come out of isolation, but Han Xiaoqiao said that it would take at least a month, so Lin Yi decided to go back to Star West Village and open the third stone door first. After all, Han Jingjing's isolation didn't have a specific time, at least a month or so. This meant that it might not be finished in a month or so Lin Yi would have returned from Star West Village long ago. At night, Lin Yi called Meng Yao, Yu Shu, and his followers together, preparing to talk to them about going to Star West Village. This kind of solemn atmosphere made everyone understand what decision Lin Yi was going to make. Tomorrow, I plan to go back to Star West Village, Lin Yi said to everyone. Lin Yi, didn't you recover? Why do you want to go back to Star West Village? Meng Yao paused and asked curiously. I don't have much to do recently, mainly, I need money. When I go back, I want to discuss with my old man if I can go back to my old business and earn some quick money, Lin Yi said, a little embarrassed. This was actually one of Lin Yi's secondary goals. Fatty Lai didn't say anything recently, but Lin Yi could feel that he was having a hard time. His villa by Lidhua River was sold, and his car was changed to a second-hand business car. This was enough to show how difficult it was for Fatty Lai. So, as the real boss of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, Lin Yi had to do something. Moreover, although Xiaoka didn't say anything, Lin Yi could imagine how difficult it was for Xiaoka's orphanage. It was okay to take in orphans, but most of them had congenital diseases. They were either disabled or had cerebral palsy. The medical fees were endless. Meng Yao's mission had come to an end. Now, even if Lin Yi handed in the mission, he couldn't leave the Miss and Shu behind. However, while carrying out this mission, he could still take on some other missions, and it wouldn't delay him. Lin Yi could see that these hidden houses were very powerful. When he wasn't injured, no matter where he was, even if he went to the Heavenly Elixir sect for more than a month, these people didn't dare to come looking for trouble. But once he was injured, even if he was in the villa, these people would still come looking for trouble. So, even if Lin Yi went to do some other missions, as long as he was fine, these hidden houses wouldn't dare to do anything to Meng Yao and the others. When he went to the Heavenly Elixir sect, Zhao Qibing was beaten up badly by Yu Shu, but he didn't dare to say no. Once he was injured, he would jump out and show his fangs. You need money? The Miss was slightly stunned. She then remembered about Lin Yi's medical company. Because of Lin Yi's injury, she forgot about it. Now that she thought about it, Lin Yi really did need money. These lackeys actually didn't have a solution. Although they could gather 100 million if they clenched their teeth, it was just a drop in the bucket for the operation of the medical company. It wouldn't be of much use at all. Lin Yi had to find another way to quickly gather a large amount of money. Yes, it's not a shameful thing. What happened to House Lu this time brought too much trouble. Now that my injuries are fine, the next step is to get some money. Lin Yi said, That's right. I'm not a big deal. Then, let Shu go with you? The Miss hesitated and said. In fact, she wanted to go herself, but she was too embarrassed to say it. With the Mrs. Personality, naturally, she pushed the responsibility to Shu. Chapter 2998. Who's going? I still have exams to take. Meng Yao glared at Yushu. She was a little embarrassed that her thoughts were exposed. Oh, then Shu can go by herself. Yushu blinked and said, Yao, Shu, I'll go alone this time. I'm not going to play this time, but to discuss something. I don't think it'll be interesting. Plus, I plan to ride the purple lightning beast. It's faster, so I won't drive. Lin, he didn't plan on bringing the two girls with him. Lin, he still had to open the third door. This was a secret, and Lin, he didn't want people to know about it. The Miss and Shu were trustworthy people, but if they were to come, the lackeys would have to come as well. Lin, he had no reason to reject them. That's fine, it'll be faster. Shu, you're not allowed to go either. Stay with me for exams. The Miss said calmly, but she was a little disappointed. I'll be back soon. Lin, he smiled. I won't be gone for long this time. Boss, do we need a few people to go with you? Chikuin asked. No need, just leave a few people to protect Yao and Shu. The others have been out for a while. Go home and do your own things. I'll find you guys when I have something to do. Lin, he rejected with a wave of his hand. All right. Chikuin didn't insist. After all, with Lin Yi's strength, it was inconvenient for him to bring lackeys along. Chuntian, on the other hand, was apologetic. Boss, out of all of us, only House Yu and House Lu are the wealthiest. Now that House Lu is bankrupt, there's a limit to how much we can help. I'm regretting it now. If I hadn't wasted so much money chasing after Jingy, I'd be able to take out some more now. Haha, I'm already very grateful for your kind intentions. I'll think of a way to deal with the rest. Lin, he waved his hand and said nonchalantly. He needed money for everything, and there were only so many ways he could earn it. The pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, on the other hand, couldn't be brought out into the world again. Kong Xiaoming would probably come looking for trouble again if he did, and he might even use the opportunity to cancel the pill. Lin, he didn't want any trouble, so he had no choice but to turn the pill into the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. It wasn't time for the practitioner's market yet, either, or Lin, he could have sold another batch of pills. That would have been a huge relief to him. At night, Lin, he didn't rest. Instead, he went to the villa's yard. Since he decided to leave, the first thing Lin he did was to level up his 3 beasts. The purple Thunderbolt beast should be faster than before when it reached Earth class, and Lin he rode it back with a speed advantage. Feng, come with me back to Westar Village. I'll level you up first. Lin, he waved at the purple Thunderbolt beast. Roar, roar, dash. The purple Thunderbolt beast heard Lin Yi's words and ran over. Lin, he found a clean place, sat down cross-legged, and started the second stage of the art of dragon mastery to level up the purple Thunderbolt beast. This wasn't the first time the purple Thunderbolt beast accepted Lin Yi's true chi transfer, so it didn't panic. Instead, it painfully and happily enjoyed the feeling of leveling up. At this moment, the purple Thunderbolt beast was at the peak of the late phase of Mystic class, and Lin, he helped it break through to Earth class. Then, its strength soared until it finally stopped at the peak of the late phase of Earth class. Although this was a leveling up from Mystic class to Earth class, it consumed more true chi than the previous leveling up from Yellow class to Mystic class. But now that Lin Yi's art of dragon mastery was at the peak of the second stage, the speed of circulation and true chi transfer were incomparable. So, it only took a few hours for the purple Thunderbolt beast to successfully level up. Next, it was General Weiwu and Skybolt Pig's turn. But General Weiwu was the first spiritual beast to follow Lin Yi, so he gave the opportunity to Skybolt Pig first. Lin, he didn't care about their modesty. Anyway, it was just a matter of entering Earth class earlier or later. Since Skybolt Pig came first, then it was Skybolt Pig. However, when Lin Yi was leveling up Skybolt Pig, he was shocked by the sparks and lightning not far away. At first, Lin Yi thought it was going to rain. But when he looked carefully, it was the horn on the purple Thunderbolt beast's forehead that was releasing lightning. Although the intensity of the lightning released by the purple Thunderbolt beast didn't seem strong. It was enough to surprise Lin Yi. Could it be that after the purple Thunderbolt beast advanced to Earth class, it could also use martial arts? Previously, Lin Yi heard that the purple Thunderbolt beast could use martial arts when it was in Earth class, but he didn't expect it to be true. Moreover, it seemed to be a very powerful and flashy lightning martial art. I wonder how strong it is against the enemy? But Lin Yi was currently leveling up Skybolt Pig, so he didn't have time to test the strength of the purple Thunderbolt beast's martial art. He could only wait until the matter at hand was over. However, what surprised Lin Yi was that during these few hours of leveling up Skybolt Pig, Lin Yi witnessed how the purple Thunderbolt beast's lightning martial art went from jerky to proficient. However, as the purple Thunderbolt beast continued to use it, the brightness of the lightning became dimmer and dimmer. It seemed like the purple Thunderbolt beast's physical strength and true energy had been depleted. When a human cultivator used martial arts, it would consume a large amount of physical strength and true energy. It seemed like it was the same for spiritual beasts. However, Lin Yi didn't care about it for the time being. Until Skybolt Pig finished leveling up, Lin Yi asked the purple Thunderbolt beast, "Little Feng, is this your martial art? Just how powerful is this martial skill of yours?" "Roar, roar," the purple Thunderbolt beast said weakly. "Gee, gee." Skybolt Pig used his claws to write on the ground and translated, "If you are proficient in using it, it should be about the same as your Earth-class martial arts 9th style. However, there is a limit to the number of times you can use it. You can only use it 2 to 3 times. "Oh, only the 9th style?" Lin Yi was a little depressed. If it was the 9th style, there really wasn't much of an advantage, because all of Lin Yi's little brothers were already Earth-class peak late phase experts, and they were already preparing to start learning martial arts. Using the 9th style wouldn't be difficult at all. However, Lin Yi's eyes suddenly narrowed, and he asked, "You're saying that it's about the same as my Earth-class martial arts 9th style? Are you referring to the Frenzy Fire Fist or the Frenzy Fire 8 Trigram Palm?" She prepared a room for her upstairs. But I have to go home first," Sun Jingyi said. According to House Sun's rules, after treating someone, the children of House Sun have to go back to the ancestral hall to register their genealogy. If there are no accidents, that person will be the other half of the children of House Sun. Sun Jingyi blushed as she said this. She carefully looked at the miss and sighed in relief when she saw that the miss didn't have any other expression. Lin Yi was slightly taken aback. He didn't expect House Sun to have this rule. He quickly said, "Jingyi, I'll go visit Elder Sun after I come back. I'll tell him about us." Since this was House Sun's rule, Lin Yi had feelings for Sun Jingyi. He naturally had to give Sun Jingyi an explanation. However, what made Lin Yi feel relieved was that the miss and Shu didn't show any dissatisfaction. When Sun Jingyi came, they showed great dislike towards her. However, they were very friendly towards Sun Jingyi. This was probably because Sun Jingyi saved him and was Faubert and Grandma Sun's daughter. And Jingyi responded softly, blushing a little. "Actually, if there's time this time, Lin, it'd be best if you brought Jingyi back." Meng Yao said, "Of course, if you can't make it this time, you can tell Grandpa Lin first." "Ah, okay." Lin Yi nodded and looked at the miss gratefully. Her personality seemed to have changed a little. Meng Yao was a little embarrassed by Lin Yi's gaze. She said, "Jingyi has done so much for you, and she likes to be with you. Shu and I are very happy to see that, but we still need to tell Xiao Xiao about this." "That's true. I'll go to the Ice Palace soon and talk to Xiao Xiao about this personally. I'll tell her about Jingyi and Xinyan." Lin Yi didn't feel pressured towards the Ice Palace anymore. Although it couldn't be said that Lin Yi's strength was above the Ice Palace, it was because Lin Yi had stepped into Sky Class, and the distance between him and Rock Candy was getting closer and closer. In front of her, he didn't have that unreachable feeling anymore. Sun Jingyi lowered her head, too shy to say anything. Even she didn't think that things would go so smoothly between her and Lin Yi. After saying goodbye to everyone, Lin Yi rode the purple lightning beast and disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. It was only dawn, and there weren't many people and cars out there. Lin E and the purple lightning beast took a secluded path, so no one noticed them. At the same time, in the Snowy Valley, there were two uninvited guests today. The disciples of the Snowy Valley had stopped a car in the Snowy Valley. This is the Snowy Valley. If you two are here to explore or to travel, please stop. The patrolling disciple stopped Boss Tang's car. Boss Tang didn't dare act rashly. This was the Snowy Valley, a place that was much stronger than the hidden sections. Even a normal patrolling disciple had the same strength as him. Boss Tang said respectfully, "Young warrior, we are here to look for someone. This is the Snowy Valley, right?" "Yes, this is the Snowy Valley." "Who are you looking for?" The patrolling disciple nodded. His expression softened when he heard that Boss Tang was looking for someone. "We are looking for Tang Yin. May I ask if she is here?" Boss Tang asked. Chapter 3000. I am Tang Yun's father, and this is Tang Yun's brother. We are from the hidden Tang family, and we are here to visit her. Boss Tang was shocked and quickly explained. "What? You said you are Elder Tang's father?" The patrolling disciple was stunned. The words of the two people in the car made him dumbfounded. Didn't Tang Yun's parents live in the Snowy Valley? Who in the Snowy Valley didn't know? These two people could have pretended to be Tang Yun's father? Wasn't this exposed in an instant? However, the patrolling disciple didn't expose them on the spot. Since these people were using the name of Tang Yun's father to deceive them, they had to take them down first and see what sinister motives they had. Yes, Boss Tang didn't know what the patrolling disciple was thinking, so he nodded immediately. The disciple said calmly, "You guys wait here for a while. I will go report." "All right," Boss Tang nodded. The patrolling disciple took out a piece of paper and stuck it on the windshield of Boss Tang's car. On it was written, "Patrolling Disciple 19, waiting to report." Boss Tang and Tang Yu didn't know what was going on, so they quietly waited for the patrolling disciple to report back, but what they got was a group of aggressive Snowy Valley disciples. Every single one of these Snow Valley disciples had the strength of an early stage to late stage peak. The moment they arrived, they surrounded Tang Boss and Tang Yu. The two of them didn't even dare to think of resisting. In fact, even if these people weren't Earth class, Boss Tang wouldn't dare act rashly. After all, this was the Snowy Valley's territory. No matter how arrogant he wouldn't come to the Snowy Valley to show off. Wouldn't that be suicide? Plus, he was here to acknowledge his family, so he had to show a friendly attitude. What is the meaning of this? Boss Tang didn't think that Tang Yin wouldn't come, but a group of Snowy Valley disciples, and they didn't look like they had good intentions. Take them down first, and wait for me to pass the message to Elder Tang before making a decision. The one on duty today was another elder of the Snow Valley, Elder Chun. Because this matter involved Tang Yin, he wouldn't make a decision on his own. Instead, he took down the two people who claimed to be Tang Yun's father and brother and waited for Tang Yin to deal with this matter. Originally, Boss Tang wanted to defend himself, but when he heard that Elder Chun wanted to pass the message to Tang Yin, he let out a sigh of relief. Once Tang Yin arrived, everything would be easy to discuss. Therefore, eldest brother Tang gave Tang Yu a meaningful look. The two of them did not resist and obediently followed the disciples of the Snow Valley to the reception room of the Snow Valley, where they were temporarily detained. Tang Yin was in the middle of training, and the Grand Elder's sudden visit surprised Tang Yin. Normally, the Grand Elder wouldn't come to find Tang Yin personally. Even if there was something, the disciple on duty would pass it on. She came here personally, so something big must have happened. For example, if Linny came, or if someone related to Linny came. Tang Yin greets the Grand Elder. Tang Yin stood up and greeted respectfully. "Elder Tang, there are two people outside the Snow Valley who claim to be your father and brother. Do you know these two people?" The Grand Elder didn't hide anything and asked straightforwardly. After all, the person who came was not Lin Yi, so she didn't need to hide anything. However, the rule of the Snow Valley was that if someone came to find Tang Yun, they must first report to the Grand Elder. This was because the Grand Elder was afraid that Lin Yi would directly pass the message over, so she added this rule. This was also the reason why she came personally today. My father? My brother? Tang Yin was slightly stunned. Doesn't my father live in the Snow Valley? And I have a younger brother, no older brother. Then these two people are liars? The Grand Elder nodded and said, Then I will get people to teach these two liars a lesson and chase them out of the Snow Valley. Wait, Tang Yin suddenly thought of something and said, I'll go see them first. All right, then you go. In the guest hall, I won't go. You deal with it as you see fit. The Grand Elder said to Tang Yun. Okay. Tang Yin got up and left the room, walking towards the guest hall. The Grand Elder was very satisfied with Tang Yin recently. Although Lin Yi came last time, Tang Yin didn't recognize him and didn't do anything inappropriate, which made the Grand Elder feel relieved. But the only thing she was worried about was that Tang Yun's heartless art cultivation had encountered an obstacle. If the heartless art was not cultivated to the extreme, then it would be impossible to cross the gap between the peak late stage of Heaven stage and the great perfection. Although the Grand Elder was also at the peak late stage of Heaven stage and was infinitely close to the great perfection, he was still not at the great perfection. Although Tang Yun was an inheritor and there was no level barrier under the heavenly Tao, there was no level barrier between the peak late stage of Heaven stage and the great perfection late stage of Heaven stage. This was a kind of accumulation of strength and the cultivator's own understanding. It had nothing to do with the level barrier. If the level of the heartless art could not be reached, then the last step would not be taken. This was what the Grand Elder was most worried about. Tang Yun walked all the way to the guest hall and saw Tang Yun and Tang Yu surrounded by the disciples of the Snow Valley. She had vaguely guessed who these two people were, but when she saw them with her own eyes, a complicated expression flashed across her face. Disciples of the Snow Valley, leave. Tang Yun waved her hand and said to the disciples in the room, Yes, Elder Tang. Seeing that Tang Yun had come, the disciples also left the guest hall respectfully. At this moment, only Tang Yu and Tang Yun were left in the guest hall. Tang Yun, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. You are already an elder of the Snow Valley. As your father, I am really happy and proud for you. Tang Yun didn't know what to say. After a long time, he finally said this. Of course, if these words were said by other father and daughter, it would be very normal. But when it came to Tang Yun and Tang Yun, it was really a bit funny. What are you doing here? Tang Yun's face, other than the complicated expression when she first entered the room, had already returned to her indifferent expression. She had cultivated the heartless art, and her whole person was cold. Even when facing Lin Yi, her whole aura would not change. Although Tang Yun did not want to, there was no other way. This was the mantra. The more she cultivated it, the more her aura would change. Chapter 3001. Birthday Banquet. Tang Yun suddenly remembered what happened in the Hidden House Tang. Lin Yi held her hand and broke off with the Hidden House Tang. She was helpless at that time, but standing beside Lin Yi gave her a sense of security. But now, he had forgotten her. The two of them had become impossible. She didn't think that the person who came to her door was the father who abandoned his wife and daughter, the father who cut off all ties with her. Tang Yui was a little embarrassed. He looked at Tang Boss and then at Tang Yun. He sighed and said, Tang Yun sis, I know you have grievances in your heart, but this person is still our father. That's right. I know. Tang Yun nodded. She had a good impression of Tang Yun. Since Tang Yun had spoken, Tang Yun didn't say anything else. She only said, but you guys are here. What do you want? Sister Tang Yun, it's like this. I'm afraid you've received the news, right? It's about Senior Lin. Although Tang Yun had a good relationship with Tang Yun, they had only met for a short time. Tang Yun wasn't sure if Tang Yun would give him face, so he was careful when he spoke. Lin Yi, Senior? What news? Tang Yun didn't understand. Why was Lin Yi a senior in Tang Yu's mouth? Even if Tang Yun saw Lin Yi in the Snow Valley and knew some of Lin Yi's heroic deeds, such as how he could instantly kill a heaven stage when he was an earth stage. There was no need to call him senior, right? Tang Yu was stunned. He didn't know the inside story of Tang Yun going to the Snow Valley. He only knew from some news that Tang Yun went to the Snow Valley and became an important elder of the Snow Valley. He didn't know the rest. But since Tang Yun was important in the Snow Valley and the disciples called her Elder Tang, how could she not know about Lin Yi? So Tang Yun wasn't sure if Tang Yun didn't want to talk to him, or if she really didn't know. Tang Yun sis, you don't know? Tang Yu paused and looked at Tang Yun. He wanted to see if she didn't want to say it, or if she really didn't know. Unfortunately, although Tang Yun asked, her expression didn't change. She was still 1,000 miles away. I've been in closed-door training the whole time. I just came out when I heard that you guys were here. Of course I didn't know. Tang Yun shook her head. Tell me, what happened to Lin Yi? Although Tang Yun really wanted to know about Lin Yi, she was very calm. She didn't want Tang Yu and Boss Tang to notice anything. It's like this. Tang Yu didn't hide anything. Since Tang Yun asked him to, he told Tang Yun about how Lin Yi got injured, poisoned, crippled, and then miraculously recovered. He also told Tang Yun about how he destroyed the hidden house Zhao. Tang Yun was shocked. Lin, he was already a Sky-class early phase master. It hasn't been long since I last saw him. His leveling speed is really fast. Moreover, the hidden house Zhao was already destroyed. Thinking about it, the hidden house Zhao was a strong enemy that Lin Yi provoked when he was in Songsan City. She didn't expect that Lin Yi had already turned it into a stepping stone. Tang Yun was sincerely happy for Lin Yi. Although Tang Yun knew that she and Lin Yi probably didn't have any interaction, she still imagined that even if she practiced the heartless arts and became an inheritor and ascended to the heavenly Tao, if Lin Yi also ascended to the heavenly Tao, they could still meet at that time. However, the fact that Lin Yi was poisoned and his meridians and dantian were destroyed shocked Tang Yun. Although she knew that Lin Yi had self-recovery ability after being injured, could he still recover when his dantian and meridians were destroyed? At least in Tang Yun's understanding of practitioners, this kind of injury couldn't be healed. But Lin Yi actually recovered, which made her feel relieved. At the same time, she was glad that she came to see Tang Yun. It was a good thing at least she knew about Lin Yi. Tang Yun's words made Tang Yun's attitude towards the two soften. Maybe it was because she was happy for Lin Yi. Tang Yun nodded and said, I see. I understand. Then tell me your purpose of coming here. Tang Yun looked at Tang Yun. The matter of recognizing relatives should be brought up by Tang Yun. After all, Tang Yun was Tang Yun's father. As a brother, he couldn't say that he came to recognize his sister, right? That would be a bit impolite. After all, Tang Yun was the leader of this matter. Tang Yun wasn't Tang Yun's brother from the same mother, but a half-brother. Tang Yun was a bit embarrassed, but he knew that this kind of thing could only be brought up by him. So he said, it's like this, Tang Yun, I want you to go back to the hidden house Tang to recognize your ancestors. Oh, Tang Yun heard Tang Yun's words and suddenly felt that it was a bit funny. Mr. Tang, I have nothing to do with the hidden Tang family. Moreover, you were the one who kicked me out. Why should I go back? Tang Yun was speechless. Yes, there was no practical benefit for Tang Yun to return to the Tang family. She was already an elder of the Snowy Valley and had a lot of power. She didn't care about hiding her identity in the Tang family. Secondly, he was the one who kicked Tang Yun out. Now that Tang Yun came back, it was indeed a bit unreasonable. If there is nothing else, please go back. Since you don't want to tell the truth, then there is no need for us to talk anymore. Tang Yun looked at Tang Yun coldly. Tang Yun looked at Boss Tang coldly and said, naturally, she didn't think that Boss Tang had a conscience and came over to acknowledge his family. She was afraid that he had some ulterior motive. Tang Yun looked at Tang Yun for help because he realized that he was a bit guilty in front of Tang Yun. Although Tang Yun didn't show her strength, her aura and the attitude of the Snowy Valley disciples were enough to show that Tang Yun's strength was not ordinary. Otherwise, she wouldn't be an elder of the Snowy Valley. Perhaps Tang Yun's strength had already surpassed Tang Taizhong's, so Tang Yun didn't dare to speak in front of her. Tang Yun had no choice but to bite the bullet and said, Sister Tang Yun, I know that after I said these words, you must have a bad impression of me. But sometimes there is no other way. As a disciple of the Hidden Tang family, there are some things that I have to say, so please forgive me. Chapter 3002. Tang Yu heard Tang Yun call him brother and was stunned. He couldn't believe his ears and looked at Tang Yun in disbelief. You, what did you call me? You're willing to recognize me as your brother? Brother Yu, my birth mother said that you are a good person. So no matter what happens between me and the Hidden Tang family, I will still recognize you as my brother. Tang Yun nodded and said, so if there's anything, just say it. Okay. Tang Yu was pleasantly surprised and quickly said, actually, this matter is related to Lin. Lin Yi? What about him? Tang Yun frowned. What's his relationship with your family? It's not a relationship. It's our Hidden Tang family. We're afraid that Lin Yi will come looking for trouble. As he said that, Tang Yu told Tang Yun about Grandpa Tang's worry for Lin Yi after seeing the hidden Zhao family being destroyed. However, Tang Yun didn't know whether to laugh or cry after hearing it. She knew Lin Yi's personality very well. Not to mention the Hidden Tang family. It was a family that had some relationship with her. Even if there wasn't a relationship, she wouldn't take the initiative to provoke Lin Yi, and Lin Yi wouldn't have the mood to cause trouble. After all, although the Tang family was unhappy, it wasn't to the point where Lin Yi had to remember to settle the score. You don't have to worry about this. Lin Yi won't be so bored to find trouble with you. As long as you don't provoke him, nothing will happen. Tang Yun waved her hand and said, if that's the case, then can you help me make a phone call? Then we'll go and apologize? Boss Tang was relieved when he heard that Lin Yi wouldn't settle accounts. However, he still wanted to build a good relationship with Lin Yi, so he wanted Tang Yun to be his bridge. Humans are like this. Often, after one thing subsided, they would think of something else. They would never be satisfied. Previously, Boss Tang was worried that Lin Yi would cause trouble for the Hidden Tang family. Now that the problem was solved, Boss Tang began to think about whether the Hidden Tang family could get any benefits from Lin Yi. Tang Yu blushed a little. He didn't expect his father to ask this question directly. It made him lose face. After all, he didn't want the little bit of kinship he had cultivated with Tang Yun to be washed away by benefits. Tang Yun's face changed at Boss Tang's words. It wasn't that she didn't want to help, but she couldn't. What if eldest brother Tang went to look for Lin Yi? That he was the son-in-law of the Hidden Tang family? Then wouldn't Lin Yi be very puzzled? Since when did he have a girlfriend with the surname Tang? Tang Yun absolutely wouldn't allow this to happen. However, Tang Yun was afraid that if she refused, with Boss Tang's personality, he would still secretly look for Lin Yi. So, Tang Yun hesitated for a moment and said, don't bother Lin Yi. He has his own things to do. If you bother him, he might kill you. If that happens, I can't do anything about it. If you want to find a backer, just say that Elder Tang of Snow Valley is your daughter. Tang Yun didn't want to get involved in these things, especially when it was the Hidden Tang family that abandoned her. But now, in order not to disturb Lin Yi, she could only say this to Boss Tang. That's great. Boss Tang was overjoyed. He originally wanted to take the roundabout route to save the country and let Lin Yi become the backer of the Hidden Tang family. This way, the Hidden Tang family could sit on the fishing platform in the hidden world. But now, with the backing of an ancient sect, it was much more useful than Lin Yi. No matter how powerful Lin Yi was, he was only famous in the hidden world. In the ancient world, it was nothing. As long as Tang Yun was willing to support the Hidden Tang family, then there was nothing for the Hidden Tang family to worry about. Yes, Tang Yun was a little dispirited. It turned out that her biological father coming here was fake. His real purpose was to seek benefits. So, Tang Yun didn't have the mood to chat with him. She just needed to let him achieve his goal. Sister Tang Yun, I'm really sorry. Tang Yun sighed and said helplessly, it's not your fault. Tang Yun shook her head. If there's nothing else, you can leave. I still need to train. Then, let's take a picture together. I'll hang it in the house. That way, people will know about our hidden Tang family's powerful background. Boss Tang didn't see Tang Yun's interest waning. He rubbed his hands and asked excitedly. Okay. Tang Yun agreed without thinking. Only by letting the hidden Tang family feel that their background was enough would they not bother Lin Yi. Tang Yun didn't want to tell the truth to someone like Boss Tang, so she could only temporarily satisfy his greed. Tang Yu helped Boss Tang and Tang Yun take a photo together, and Tang Yu and Tang Yun took a photo together. Boss Tang was very satisfied. Yin, then you practice well here. I won't disturb you anymore. I have to go back to the family and report to your grandfather. Oh, okay, Tang Yin said faintly. Dad, aren't we here to bring any Xiaoming back? Tang Yin frowned and reminded. Boss Tang glared at Tang Yin and pretended to be very concerned. Your Annie Xiaoming is Yun Yun's birth mother. It's natural for her to stay here with Yun Yun. How could she go back? How much will she miss Yun Yun when she goes back? Tang Yun was stunned. He couldn't help but smile bitterly in his heart. How could he not know that his father didn't want to bring Annie Xiaoming back? He already had Tang Yun's support. It was no longer important whether Annie Xiaoming returned to the hidden Tang family or not. If she went back, it might cause his mother and House Yu to be unhappy. But if she didn't go back, he would have Tang Yun's support and wouldn't offend the hidden House Yu. Boss Tang had a good plan, but Tang Yun couldn't say anything. After all, he wasn't the head of the family. He could only helplessly say to Tang Yun, I'll go see Annie Xiaoming. When I was young, Annie Xiaoming was very good to me. She was like her own son. Okay. Tang Yun nodded and agreed. She looked at Boss Tang. Are you going? Then, I'll go and see. Boss Tang blamed Tang Yun for being a busybody. He could just go back. Why would he go and see Xiaoming? What if she wanted to go back to the hidden Zhao family after seeing her? You don't need to go. How could Tang Yun not see through Boss Tang's thoughts? She was completely disappointed in him and directly refused. Oh, okay. Yin, I'll listen to whatever you say, Boss Tang quickly said. He was relieved in his heart. Tang Yun was helpless. He thought that his father was too embarrassing, but he couldn't do anything. He silently followed Tang Yun and walked into the snow valley. Chapter 3004. I'm not angry. I'm helping the hidden Tang family out of respect for you and Little Ming's mother. I have nothing to do with that person. Tang Yun's voice was cold and emotionless. She had no feelings for the hidden Tang family to begin with, and it was even more so after practicing the heartless arts. Sigh. Tang Yu sighed and smiled bitterly. I'm already very happy that you acknowledge me. I can't force anything else. All right, tell your father not to look for Lin Yi. Otherwise, if something bad happens, it won't be something we can control, Tang Yun reminded him again. Okay, I'll tell my father, Tang Yu nodded. The two of them walked to Little Ming's place. Little Ming was very happy to see Tang Yu come see her, but when she found out that Boss Tang was also here, she couldn't help but feel disappointed. Tang Yun saw this and didn't say anything. After all, Little Ming still had some feelings for Boss Tang. After so many years, she followed him and didn't have any contact with other men. It wasn't easy to completely forget Boss Tang, but in Tang Yun's eyes, it was almost impossible for the two of them to be together again, unless Boss Tang's personality changed. Tang Yu and Little Ming chatted for a while and left. After all, Boss Tang was still waiting, so Tang Yun didn't send him off. She found a disciple to send him off, and she stayed to chat with Little Ming's mother. There weren't many opportunities like this. Tang Yun spent most of her time in the Snow Valley cultivating, and Wang Yuming and Wang Yujia's personalities were different. Wang Yujia was overbearing and unruly. She walked around the Snow Valley and could see Tang Yun at any time, but Wang Yuming followed the rules of the Snow Valley and didn't walk around as she pleased. Eldest brother Tang happily rushed back to the hidden Tang family. Tang Yu could only helplessly follow him back to the hidden Tang family. Grandfather Tang let out a sigh of relief when he found out about the outcome of the matter. However, at the same time, he prepared to host a banquet and invite the elders of the other hidden families to celebrate the fact that the hidden Tang family had the backing of the ancient sect Snow Valley. Of course, It was just a celebration to show off in front of others. Lenny naturally didn't know that his action of destroying the hidden Zhao family had caused such a huge confusion to the hidden Tang family. At this moment, he had already arrived at the West Star Mountain village riding Little Wind. It happened to be evening. When he appeared in his courtyard, Lin Dongfang noticed him. "You're back." When Lin Dongfang saw he riding a spirit beast back, he wasn't surprised at all. He didn't express any surprise towards the spirit beast either. Instead, he asked in a very normal manner. "Yes, old man, you knew I was coming back?" He was stunned. He didn't expect old man Lin's expression to be so calm. "When I heard that you were crippled, I thought that you would return. However, now that you've recovered and returned, I am surprised." Old man Lin said as he came to the purple electric tempest beast side. He patted it up and down and said, "This little thing looks pretty good. Can it be eaten?" He was instantly speechless. The purple electric tempest beast had never seen old man Lin before. When it heard that old man Lin was going to summon it, it immediately showed hostility. It widened its eyes and roared, "Roar, roar. What are you roaring for?" Old man Lin pulled the purple electric tempest beast in front of him, which gave the purple electric tempest beast a huge fright. What kind of great strength was this? Being pulled like this, it almost tumbled down. One should know that the purple electric tempest beast was very strong. However, this seemingly weak old man in front of it was able to pull it down. One could imagine how strong his strength was. The purple electric tempest beast immediately realized that this person in front of it was an existence that couldn't be provoked. It subconsciously wanted to take 2 steps back. However, it realized that old man Lin's hand was on its horn, preventing it from moving at all. Roar, roar, roar. The purple electric tempest beast was instantly anxious. Suddenly, a flash of lightning flashed on its horn. It followed old man Lin's hand and hit old man Lin's body. It can even discharge electricity? Old man Lin looked at the purple electric tempest beast strangely. He didn't care about the lightning at all. It was as if the lightning didn't even hit him. After being hit by the purple electric tempest beast's lightning martial skill, old man Lin was completely fine. He could even speak. "This electricity is such a waste. It can even light up a light bulb." He clicked his tongue. However, he was already used to old man Lin's heaven-defying strength since he was young. However, this time he was quite shocked. The purple electric tempest beast's lightning martial skill could instantly kill a peak mid-stage heaven-class expert. However, it was actually nothing to old man Lin. Previously, he felt that old man Lin was extremely powerful. He was stronger than old man Lin, and that was why he had never beaten him before. Now, it seemed like old man Lin wasn't just average strength. He was super strong. "All right, old man, stop teasing it." Along the way, little phone carried me back, and it was quite tiring. "It is quite loyal," he said to old man Lin. "Oh." Old man Lin let go of his hand and didn't make things difficult for the purple electric tempest beast anymore. However, the purple electric tempest beast was so scared that it hid in a corner and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. It thought to itself, "Lin Yi's family is indeed terrifying." He was already a terrifying existence, and it didn't expect that there was an old man in his family who was even more terrifying than him. He didn't even react to the lightning martial skill, and he was extremely powerful. "You are back. Are you going up the mountain?" Old man Lin looked at and asked. "Yes, I have completed the 2nd level. I'm going to go and have a look." He nodded. "Is everything settled in East Ocean City?" Old man Lin asked. "Yes, but there was a problem. One of my younger sisters was captured and sent to the Heavenly Elixir sect," He said. "Chun Shi?" Old man Lin asked. "I say, old man, how do you know everything? Did you install a surveillance camera on me?" He was stunned. He realized that he couldn't hide anything from old man Lin. "No, I just paid more attention to you recently. Your growth has finally accelerated, and I'm very pleased," old man Lin said. "When you come back next time, I will probably be able to tell you some things." "Oh." He was slightly stunned. He then asked, You can't tell me now? Not yet. Old man Lin shook his head. Chapter 3005. By the way, are there any missions recently? Lin, he changed the topic. Are you short of money? Old Lin looked at Lin. I thought you had already adapted to a comfortable life. My life now is not as comfortable as it used to be. Compared to the life of an assassin, it's child's play. It's just that my strength has increased, and I don't feel that it's that dangerous as a cultivator anymore. Lin, he smiled bitterly and said, every world has its own rules. If you don't step into it, you'll never understand it. Since you want to take on missions, I can help you think about it. Of course, don't take on the missions from before. I'll help you find some high-end missions with high pay. Old Lin agreed. All right, the more the better, Lin, he replied. Of course, don't make it too difficult. I don't want to die for money. Oh, I'll help you check, Old Lin said nonchalantly. That night, Lin, he left Little Fong at Old Lin's place while he rushed to West Star Mountain. After the second stone door opened, Lin, he remembered that there was a stone tablet beside the third stone door that was completely different from the first stone door. There was a line of words written in seal script on it. You can open the stone door after mastering the second level of the art of dragon mastery. In this way, Lin, he didn't have to abide by the 5-year promise on the night of the full moon. As long as he mastered the second level of the art of dragon mastery, he could open the third stone door. Now that Lin, he had mastered the second level of the art of dragon mastery, he should be able to enter the stone door smoothly. Lin, he arrived in front of the Xianyuan cave mansion with ease. Now, Lin, he had a rough idea of what was going on. The Xianyuan cave mansion didn't exist since ancient times, but was built later. Moreover, according to Jiao Yazi, the 5-year promise seemed to be specially prepared for Lin Yi. Lin Yi's heart was full of suspicions. Ever since old Lin kicked him off the cliff, he seemed to have walked into a path that someone had planned for him. Every step he took was controlled by that person. Who was the one who had planned all of this? Of course, that person obviously didn't mean any harm. In fact, he was full of kindness. After all, Lin, he had all the benefits. Although Lin, he didn't have a good sect background and didn't have a large amount of treasures for cultivation, it could be said that the Jade Space and the Xianyuan Cave Mansion were enough to make up for the difference. Otherwise, how would Lin be able to step on all the opponents who were stronger than him? This was enough to prove that the things in the Xianyuan Cave Mansion were very powerful. They weren't any weaker than the top inheritances of the ancient sections. No matter how strong Zhang Naipeo was, he was still restrained in the end. And so, Lin Yi admired the person who built the Xianyuan Cave Mansion. Lin Yi didn't stay for long and went straight to the second stone door at the back of the hall. The last time Lin Yi opened this stone door, it really wasted a lot of energy. The stone door made the physical strength and vital qi in his body go through a big cycle. But this time, Lin Yi had experience. He calmly placed his hand on the second stone door and then began to circulate the art of dragon mastery. But this time, what surprised Lin, it was that the vital qi in his body wasn't automatically sucked into the stone door to complete a cycle like the last time. Instead, just like the first stone door, Lin Yi circulated the mantra and the stone door slowly opened. Once the stone door opened, Lin Yi and the space in the jade pendant naturally re-established a connection. Seeing the scene in front of him, Lin Yi couldn't help but ask, Jiao Lao, this second stone door is completely different from the last time. Chapter 3006. So that's how it is. Then in front of the third stone door, is there a corresponding test? Lin Yi quickly asked after listening. Of course, Jiao Yazi said. It should be similar to the last time. I understand. Lin Yi nodded. He was confident in his heart. He quickly walked into the second stone door, bypassed the high platform, and came to the front of the third stone door. He saw the words on the stone tablet next to the stone door. You can open the stone door after you have achieved the second level of the divine art. Now, Lin Yi had advanced to the second level of the art of dragon mastery. There should be no problem opening the stone door. Lin Yi placed his hand on the third stone door and activated the second level of the art of Dragon Mastery. Just like the last time, at this moment, all the chi in Lin Yi's body was mobilized, and his art of Dragon Mastery was automatically forced to the second level of the art of Dragon Mastery. At this time, there was no need for Lin Yi to activate the mental cultivation method. The mental cultivation method was running on its own, and the energy in Lin Yi's body was slowly injected into the stone door through his palm. However, with the experience of opening the second stone door, Lin Yi did not panic at all. Instead, he faced everything in front of him calmly. As time passed, the chi in Lin Yi's body became less and less, and finally, all of it entered the stone door. Then, the energy that entered the stone door flowed back into Lin Yi's body again. Unsurprisingly, the energy this time was purer than in Lin Yi's body. The stone door once again helped Lin Yi to complete the filtration, and then the energy flowed back into the stone door back and forth. Finally, the third stone door suddenly made a rumbling sound, and the energy flow between Lin Yi and the stone door stopped, and the stone door began to rise slowly. Phew! Lin Yi let out a long breath. It seemed that the third stone door was opened in the same way as the second stone door. Kid Lin, what are you waiting for? It's almost daybreak. Why don't you go in and see what's inside? Elder Jiao's voice rang in Lin Yi's ear just as he was catching his breath. Lin Yi snapped out of his daze and turned around. He didn't know when, but the sky was already turning white. This time, it took longer than the last time because the second level of the art of Dragon Mastery had more energy than the first, so Lin Yi was pressed for time. It's already so tense this time. Want to be daybreak next time? Lin Yi was startled and hurriedly asked, if there's a stone door at the peak of the third layer, will I be trapped for 5 years? 5 years? There's no need for that. The 5-year promise is long gone. You just need to wait for a day. At night, you can use the same method to open the door. Jiao Yazi said, that's good. Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief. If he had to wait for 5 years, wouldn't he be waiting for death? Who knew what would happen at home? Behind the third stone door, there was still no grand hall like the first stone door. Similar to the second stone door, it was a very simple room. There was still no light source in the room, but it was still as bright as day. However, Lin Yi was already used to it. In front of the stone room, there was still a small platform. On top of the platform, there was still a small antique box. Other than that, there was nothing in the third stone door. This made Lin extremely disappointed. Lin Yi was already a heaven rank expert. He used to dream of obtaining a powerful heaven rank divine weapon behind the third stone door. But now, other than a box, there was nothing else. How could a divine weapon be stored in such a small box? Thinking about it, it wouldn't be able to fit in. Lin Yi walked towards the platform with flagging interest and took down the antique box. The small box was light as a feather, similar to the previous one. This made Lin Yi even more disappointed. It seemed that other than the mantra, there wouldn't be anything else inside. There's no divine weapon here. Lin Yi asked Jiao Yazi in disappointment. If there is, then there is. If there isn't, then there isn't. What you see is what you get. Jiao Yazi seemed like he didn't know what was behind the stone door, so he said something ambiguous. Lin Yi was speechless, but since he was here, it was always good to have something. Lin Yi could only place his hopes on the fourth stone door, because in the third stone room, Lin Yi saw the fourth stone door. Perhaps this stone room was set up according to the sky, earth, black, and yellow. It was just that he came in 5 years late, so his strength and mantra weren't in sync. Or could it be that, in theory, the third stage of the art of Dragon Mastery was the real mantra that complemented the Earth-class mantra? Lin Yi couldn't figure it out, because every mantra and mantra was linked to different levels of strength. There was no reference. Lin Yi didn't know if his guess was correct. When he came to the front of the fourth stone door, there was another stone tablet. As Lin Yi expected, there was a sentence carved in seal script on it. Third stage perfection, weapon in hand. Use the weapon to hit the door to enter. What? Weapon in hand? Lin Yi was stunned. Wasn't this a trap? Where did the weapon come from? There was only a small box behind the third stone door. It probably contained a mantra. Where could he get a divine weapon? Could it be that the fourth stone door could be opened by simply hitting the door with a heaven-class weapon? It wasn't a very reliable guess, but no matter how he thought about it, he really didn't know where he could get his hands on a divine weapon. Seeing that the sky was about to brighten, he didn't stay any longer. He went straight out of the stone door and came to the entrance of the cave. At this moment, the sky had just brightened. He waited until the stone door was completely closed before he left and walked towards the village. This time, he came back in a low-key manner. The people in the village didn't know. It was already dawn now. If he directly went down the mountain with a small box empty-handed, it would inevitably arouse suspicion. Although the Xinyuan cave mansion was at the foot of the other side of the West Star Mountain and the possibility of being discovered was not high, Lin still decided to hunt a beast on the mountain for caution. Otherwise, Lin Yi's inexplicable return to the West Star Mountain village, and the first thing he did was to go up the mountain instead of going home. Chapter 3007. However, when he just entered the mountain range, his face changed slightly and became incomparably dignified. Because he felt the aura of a cultivator in the mountain range. It was the fluctuation of true energy. The perception of Heaven's stage was really extraordinary. If it was the previous he definitely wouldn't have such a great ability. But since he set foot in Heaven's stage, even if he was just an expert in the early stage of Heaven's stage, Lin Yi's perception of the outside world was extremely strong. Moreover, according to Lin Yi's perception, this true energy fluctuation wasn't just from one person. It should be from 2 to 3 people. He subconsciously converged his own aura so that he didn't even have the aura of an ordinary person. He hesitated slightly in his heart. Should he go and see what was going on? After all, the appearance of cultivators here didn't seem to have much to do with Lin Yi at first glance. But on second thought, this was West Star Mountain Village. How could there be cultivators in West Star Mountain Village? This place was remote. There weren't even tourists here. Where did the cultivators come from? Why did this cultivator come? What was he doing here? He couldn't figure out at all. But since he couldn't figure it out, it was even more suspicious. So, after hesitating for a moment, he still walked forward. The cultivators here were probably coming for him. Otherwise, he really couldn't find any other reason. The aura of the cultivators was getting closer and closer. He could be sure that there were a total of 3 cultivators in front of him. Moreover, their strength levels weren't low. One of them was an expert at the peak of the early stage of Heaven's stage, and the other 2 were actually experts at the peak of the late stage of Heaven's stage. At this distance, he could already sense their strength, because all of them were unleashing their full power without holding anything back. What surprised he was that these 3 people didn't seem to be a group because they were fighting. What was going on? He felt even more strange. It seemed that these 3 cultivators didn't come to find him, but why did they come here to fight? Should I go or not? What made Lin hesitate was that the other side had 2 peak late-stage Heaven rank powerhouses. It wasn't easy to meddle in the affairs of Heaven rank powerhouses. He didn't want to get involved in other people's business. However, if he didn't know the background of these 3 people, he wouldn't be at ease. These 3 people suddenly came to the West Star Mountain Village. Even if it didn't come for Lin Yi would at least have to be on guard, right? Just as he was hesitating, he suddenly heard one of them shout, "Sixth brother, I can't hold on any longer." This old madman suddenly stopped being crazy. How did he become so powerful? The person who was called Sixth Brother was also secretly complaining. This old madman suddenly stopped being crazy. Even he couldn't hold on any longer. He didn't know where this old thing got 2 incomparably overbearing Heaven rank weapons. Even an expert of the same level like him couldn't withstand it. Let's hold on for a while. This old thing is intermittent. I don't believe that he isn't crazy. The person called Sixth Brother said while gritting his teeth. Okay. After the previous person heard it, he also gritted his teeth and said, "I don't know if old 7 has recovered." He fell behind after being smashed by this old thing's axe. Old 7 has the great recover pill in hand. There shouldn't be a problem, Sixth brother said. Why were these two voices so familiar? He frowned slightly. He seemed to have heard it somewhere. It seemed that they should be his acquaintances. But among his acquaintances, where was there an expert with the strength of peak late-stage heaven rank? Except for the heaven rank strange man. Yes. Could the old madman they were talking about be the heaven rank strange man? And when Lenny thought of the heaven rank strange man, he suddenly thought of the two people related to him, Old 6 and Old 12. Now it seemed that these two people should be from the Five Elements sect. They were the subordinates of Ancestor Shinshin. They were brothers with Little 1 and Little 11. Could it be that they found the heaven rank strange man and were besieging him? Last time, he was in the Wulong Haut mountain range. He used an inescapable net to luckily escape from Old 12's pursuit. At that time, Old 12 was an expert with the strength of peak early-stage heaven rank. How high was he to Lin? However, now that he was an expert at the heaven rank early stage, he wouldn't be in such a sorry state when facing Old 12 again. Thinking that the person they were besieging might be the heaven rank strange man, he no longer hesitated and ran over in a few steps. When Lenny got closer to take a look, his guess was right. The three people on the other side were the heaven-rank strange man, Old 6, and Old 12. He saw that the divine weapon in the hands of the strange man had changed from the black iron rod last time to two huge battle axes. What surprised was that this time, the strange man didn't seem to be crazy. Because when he used the battle axes, he was quite methodical and could bring out the greatest power of the battle axes. On the other side, Old 6 and Old 12 were 2 against 1. Under the attack of the battle axes, they didn't have any advantage and were at a disadvantage. However, Lenny could also see that although they were at a disadvantage, it was impossible for the strange man to kill Old 6 and Old 12. The two of them were only slightly inferior. Moreover, the two of them had a tacit understanding. When one of them was in danger, the other could quickly protect him. This made the strange man's attacks fail again and again. At the very least, it shouldn't be a problem for Old 6 and Old 12 to hold on for 3 to 5 days. In the end, everyone would probably run out of true chi and scatter. He was full of hatred for the people of the Five Elements sect. Old 6 and Old 12 were also his enemies. Although his hatred wasn't as big as Little 1 and Little 11, he still had to take revenge for being chased by Old 12 like a dead dog. Thinking of this, he directly shouted, "Master, I'm here to help you." Then he rushed over. He was now an expert in the early stage of heaven rank. When he came nearby, he hid his strength. The strange man, Old 6, and Old 12 did not notice Yi's arrival. But when Yi shouted, it shocked them. Old 6, and Old 12 were shocked. They quickly raised their heads to look at Yi and immediately recognized him. As for Old 6 and Old 12, they had the same thought at the same time, and that was that today's situation was hopeless. The two of them were already having trouble dealing with the heaven-class monster, and if Yi was added to the mix, then they would probably fall into the monster's trap. Chapter 3008. However, they were afraid that while dealing with the strange man, he would make a sneak attack from the side. With such a distraction, the strange man would have a chance to take advantage of them. Thus, the two of them decided to retreat and planned to take advantage of the heaven rank eccentric's distraction to run away. The strange man turned around and looked at Yi. His eyes flashed with a trace of confusion. Then, his whole body became a little sluggish, and his eyes no longer had the shrewdness from before. He suddenly shouted, "Good Lear, you're here. The two of us, master and disciple, will get rid of these two bastards together." Seeing the strange man's expression and reaction, he secretly cursed in his heart. How could he have thought that he just called him master, and the strange man became stupid again, without the shrewdness from before? If the strange man was as powerful as before, Lin, E, and him should have no problem killing Old 6 and Old 12. But now, Old 6 and Old 12 were about to escape, but suddenly heard the strange man's words. They were stunned, but when they saw the strange man's appearance, they immediately became happy. Crazy. Crazy again. Wahaha. 12 started laughing all of a sudden. 6, bro, this old thing's crazy. Ha. That kid Lin, he called a master, and he turned into an idiot. Yes, Linny, thank you very much. It was quite difficult for us to deal with this old thing, but I didn't expect you to come and help us a lot. Old 6 also said happily, don't worry, I will thank you properly. After I take care of this crazy old man, I will send you to accompany him. Master, how are you? Lin E ran to the crazy old man with great concern, but Old 6 and Old 12 did not stop him. In their opinion, Lin E did not escape, but ran to see the crazy old man's situation. It was undoubtedly an act of courting death. If Lin E ran now, it might take them some time to kill the crazy old man, and they would not be able to find Lin E at that time. But Lin E actually took the initiative to die. 6, brother, it looks like this kid wants to die with us. Then we won't hold back. 12's words stopped abruptly at this point, because he noticed to his surprise that a palm had suddenly pressed against his chest. Wildfire 8 trigram palm, 8th form. Lin Yi's body that was originally running to the strange man made an incredible turn. Old 6 and Old 12 did not even see how Lin Yi turned around and walked over, and his palm had already pressed on Old 12's chest. Boom! Followed by a loud bang, Old 12's whole body flew out. At the same time, blood spurted out of his mouth, and a huge dent could be seen on his chest. His whole body directly fell on a tree trunk not far away, and then lay straight on the ground, lifeless. Lin Yi did not urge the 9th form, because once the 9th form was activated, it would consume all of Lin Yi's physical strength and chi, and Old 12 was just an early-stage heaven rank master. Although Old 12 came from the 5-element sect, and was stronger than ordinary early-stage heaven rank masters, but Lin Yi's 8th form could even kill a middle-stage heaven rank master from the everyday and everyday sect. Killing Old 12 should not be a problem. Now it seemed that Lin Yi's judgment was indeed correct. Old 12 undoubtedly died, and Lin Yi still retained at least half of his physical strength and chi. The reason why he chose Old 12 was also because Old 6 was too strong. With the strength of the peak late-stage heaven rank, Lin Yi did not even try to know that it was impossible to kill him. So it was better to pick a soft persimmon and find someone who could be killed in one go. When Old 12 died, only Old 6 was left with the strange man in heaven rank, and Lin Yi's help, he should be able to deal with it. Impossible. How is it possible? You are an early-stage heaven rank master? Old 6 looked at Lin Yi, shocked and angry. Lin Yi was actually an early-stage heaven rank master? How could he not know? But it was no wonder. The news of Lin Yi's breakthrough had just spread out, and he and Old 12 had been chasing the strange man in heaven rank for almost half a month from the territory of the 5-element sect to the West Star Mountain. During this period, the strange man in heaven rank was sometimes good and sometimes bad, sometimes crazy and sometimes sober. So it dragged on. No one could defeat the other. They chased for a while and fought for a while, but fortunately, when they chased here, they had already figured out the strange man's fighting style. Waiting for him to go crazy, they could take him down in one fell swoop. But who would have thought that Lin Yi would appear out of nowhere? And Lin Yi was actually an early-stage heaven rank master. Of course, what puzzled Old 6 the most was that even if Lin Yi was in the early-stage heaven rank, Old 12 was at the peak of the early-stage heaven rank, and the disciples of the 5-element sect were often stronger than other cultivators of the same level. But it seemed that this was not the case. Lin Yi was actually stronger than Old 12. Moreover, what was most inconceivable was Lin Yi's Qigong just now. Even the speed of a heaven rank master couldn't be that fast, right? A moment ago, he was still standing in front of the strange man, and the next moment, he directly teleported in front of Old 12 and sent him flying with a palm. Was this footwork a new type of martial art specially used for sneak attacks? However, the strange man didn't give Old 6 the time to ask. Although he was crazy, the two axes in his hands didn't stop. They swung in the air like a tiger and smashed towards Old Six's face. "Old thing, you're courting death." Old Six didn't get to ask why, but instead suffered a fierce attack from the strange man. He was so angry that he raised the ruler in his hand and smashed it towards the strange man's head. This was his heaven rank weapon, and Old 12's heaven rank weapon was a black token. Although Lin, he didn't know what it was, he had already coveted it and was ready to secretly pick it up later. The heaven rank eccentric didn't dodge and directly swung his two axes at Old Six. These two axes were much longer than the ruler, so Old Six was startled and quickly dodged. The ruler was also taken back by him. He had no choice but to dodge. If he didn't dodge, the strange man's axe would smash towards him. Wouldn't his head be directly split open? It must be known that although the strange man was now in a crazy state, his strength hadn't decreased. He just didn't have any method to fight the enemy, so he fought randomly. Chapter 3009. Originally, it should have been easy to deal with the crazy heaven ranker, but now it had become extremely difficult. Otherwise, he and 12th brother would have killed the heaven ranker long ago. Why would they wait until now? And they had finally found a flaw in the heaven ranker. When he was awake, there was a blind spot that he couldn't take care of. This was also the reason why, when one person was in danger, the other person could help him escape. Because once the other person attacked from the position of the flaw, the heaven ranker had to protect himself. Thus, when the heaven rank eccentric went berserk, one person attacked from the front while the other attacked from an opening. The heaven rank eccentric wasn't clear-headed and simply didn't have time to think about it, so it was very likely that he would be killed. But now that there was one less person, it was difficult to implement this plan. 6th brother could only brace himself and fight against the heaven ranker. Fortunately, this person was relatively stupid now, so 6th brother could barely gain the upper hand, but it was impossible to eliminate him. Lin watched the battle between 6th brother and the heaven ranker. From the current situation, the heaven ranker couldn't do anything to 6th brother because 6th brother was not stupid and dodged very quickly. Moreover, the heaven ranker was attacking randomly, so he couldn't hit 6th brother at all. Several times, the heaven ranker's battle axe was easily dodged by 6th brother, which made Lin secretly feel pity. At the same time, Lin was also thinking about how to help the heaven ranker kill 6th brother. If 6th brother escaped today, then Lin was afraid that there would be endless troubles in the future. Although Boss Bai and Ancestor Xianxun had an agreement, that was also under the premise of mutual non-aggression. Now that Lin had killed 12th brother, 6th brother could go back and tell Ancestor Xianxun. Ancestor Xianxun would have enough reason to send people to kill him. Who asked him to kill someone else first? If Old 6 and Old 12 came to find trouble with Lin first and were killed by Lin Patriarch Xianxun could only swallow his broken teeth. If he wanted to find Lin for revenge, Boss Bai would definitely not agree, because he was in the wrong. But now Old 12 was dead. Although Lin was helping the heaven-ranked weirdo, essentially, Lin had nothing to do with the heaven-ranked weirdo. As long as Patriarch Xianxun insisted on this, he would attack Lin and Boss Bai would be helpless. To put it bluntly, many things in the ancient times needed a reason that everyone could live with. With a reason, there was nothing to worry about. However, no matter how Lin thought about it, he couldn't think of a way to deal with Old 6. The true Qi bomb had been compressed for too long, and Lin couldn't guarantee that the true Qi bomb would have an effect on Old 6. After all, Old 6 was a peak late-stage Heaven Stage Master. It was hard to say if Lin Yi's true Qi bomb could cause any harm to him. As for the Frenzy 8 Trigram Fire Palm, even if Lin used the 9th form, it shouldn't have any effect on Old 6. After all, the 9th form could kill a peak mid-stage Heaven Stage Master in an instant. It was unknown whether it could seriously injure a peak late-stage Heaven Stage Master, let alone a peak late-stage Heaven Stage Master. After thinking about it, Lin Yi's brain was working at full speed, constantly recalling the experiences he had when he fought enemies above his level. However, it didn't seem to be applicable because the highest level masters Lin Yi fought against were Zhang Naipeo's two subordinates, Mo Ba and Mo Jiao, mid-stage heaven stage masters. Suddenly, Lin Yi had a flash of inspiration, thinking of Zhang Naipeo. Lin Yi suddenly thought of Zhang Naipeo's heaven-defying skill, Dark Demon of Hell Fist, and after Lin Yi's modification, the Dark Demon of Hell Fist became the Raging Inferno Fist. Although the power of the Raging Inferno Fist was not as strong as the Dark Demon of Hell Fist, it could also make people fall into an illusion. Zhang Naipeo was like this back then, unable to extricate himself from the illusion. However, this Dark Demon of Hell Fist also had a shortcoming, and that was the effect was not very obvious for high-level practitioners. Some strong-willed people could quickly recover from the illusion, but it was also possible that there was no effect at all. But no matter what, since Lin Yi thought of this move, he could only give it a try. If this move didn't work, Lin Yi could only waste his last inescapable net to trap Old Six, and then let the Heaven Stage monster directly smash Old Six to death with his axe. Thinking of this, Lin Yi activated the mantra of the Raging Inferno Fist, and then according to the method of the Dark Demon of Hell Fist, suddenly made a move, punching towards Old Six's head, and shouted, "Raging Inferno Fist." Old Six was nervously dealing with the Heaven Stage monster, and when Lin Yi made his move, he also chose the right time, just as the Heaven Stage monster swung his axe, and the moment Old Six hurriedly used the ruler to block, Lin Yi's Raging Inferno Fist was also activated. A stream of vital energy shot into Old Six's head, and then Old Six roared fiercely, his eyes showing a look of incomparable horror. He suddenly felt that he was in a sea of fire, and the sea of fire was chasing after him, and was about to burn him. Old Six was shocked, and subconsciously turned around to run away. However, after all, he was an expert at the peak of the late stage of Heaven Stage, and also a disciple of the Five Elements sect, so his willpower was not ordinary. If it wasn't because he was dealing with the Heaven Stage monster's attack and didn't pay attention to Lin Yi's martial arts, he wouldn't have let Lin Yi so easily. Therefore, after just a moment of illusion, Old Six roared again, broke through the illusion, and successfully escaped from the sea of fire. However, he was very shocked in his heart. Lin Yi actually had the ability to create illusions for others? What kind of martial arts was this? However, after Old Six opened his eyes, he saw two battle axes falling from the sky, smashing towards his head. This was the last scene he saw after he woke up. Then, Old Six's head directly burst open, and he collapsed on the ground, turning into a bloody gourd. Although it was only a moment of confusion, it was only a few seconds from when Old Six was hit by the Raging Inferno Fist to when he woke up, but these few seconds were enough for the Heaven Stage monster's battle axe to smash Old Six's head. Although the Heaven Stage monster was smashing randomly, his strength was still there, and Old Six had just woken up, so he didn't have time to defend or dodge, and his head was smashed open like a watermelon. Old Six's death could be said to be very unjust. If the Heaven Stage monster was in a sober state, he would have accepted it, but he was in a crazy state and could still be beaten to death. He died with his eyes open. However, his eyes were already gone. They were smashed into pieces. Chapter 30:10. After Lin Yi used the Raging Hellfire Fist, his physical strength and true chi were instantly drained, and he slumped to the ground. On the other hand, the strange man was full of energy at the moment. After killing Old Six, he didn't feel tired at all. The enemy was killed by us master and disciple. I'll leave this thing with you first. I help you steal it from the enemy's base camp. Take a look at it first. I'm hungry. I'll go find something to eat. After saying that, the strange man took out a bamboo scroll from his bosom and threw it in front of Lin Yi. Then, without waiting for Lin Yi to speak, he turned around and ran into the depths of the mountains. Master. Lin Yi quickly called out, but the man didn't pay attention to him as he walked away until he was out of sight. Lin, he didn't even have the strength to stand up and chase after him. He could only helplessly watch the strange man leave. With Lin Yi's past experience, the strange man had left. He probably wouldn't be able to come back. The next time they met would be uncertain. Lin, he wanted to wait for the heaven-class monster to wake up and ask him how he pissed off Old 6 and Old 12, how they chased him all the way here, and what was this bamboo scroll he gave him. But all these questions, Lin, he could only put them in his heart. He could only wait for the next time they met to ask. After putting the bamboo scroll away, Lin, he didn't look at it directly. Instead, he quickly entered the space of the jade pendant and ran the second level of the art of dragon mastery to restore his lost physical strength and true chi. Although the enemy had been dealt with, Lin Yi was afraid of any unforeseen events, so restoring his strength was the first priority. And this bamboo scroll could be looked at any time. There was no hurry. It wouldn't be too late to look at it when his strength was restored. However, just as Lin Yi was sitting cross-legged on the ground and running the art of dragon mastery to restore his physical strength and true chi, footsteps came from not far away. This made Lin Yi a little surprised. Could it be that the strange man really came back? Of course, it didn't matter if it was the strange man, but Lin Yi was afraid that other people would pass by, such as the villagers of West Star Village. Would they be scared when they saw the two corpses on the ground? However, Lin Yi really didn't have the strength to deal with the two corpses now. He could only brace himself and continue to restore his physical strength and true chi. If there were really villagers passing by, Lin Yi could only make up a random reason. The footsteps came from afar, but after Lin Yi heard it clearly, his face showed a relaxed expression. Because the footsteps were very familiar to Lin Yi. It was Gooden, and Lin Yi relaxed and let the footsteps come closer. Gooden came to West Star Village to hunt this morning. After having a family, Gooden had to work harder to earn money to support his family. So, coming to West Star Village to hunt every morning had become his job. But today, Gooden sensed an unusual scent in this mountain range. It was the smell of blood. Could it be that there were beasts fighting here? Gooden wasn't afraid. He ran over with the mentality of watching a show. But when he saw the scene in front of him, he froze. "Boss, why are you here?" Gooden really didn't think that he would meet Lin Yi in Donghai City while hunting. When he saw the two corpses not far away, he was even more surprised. Who are these two corpses? Gooden, you came at the right time. I'm restoring my physical strength and pure chi. Help me patrol the area. Other than a crazy man with messy hair and two battle axes, don't let anyone near here. Lin, he didn't have time to explain things to Gooden. Okay. Gooden didn't even think about it, nodding and disappearing into the nearby forest, patrolling back and forth. Lin Yi, on the other hand, continued to use the second stage of the art of dragon mastery to quickly recover his physical strength. Old 7, who was also the person that Old 6 was talking about, had been hit by the heaven-ranked monster's battle axe when he was still conscious and was seriously injured. He had no choice but to sit on the ground to heal while Old 6 and Old 12 chased after the heaven-ranked monster. But as Old 6 and Old 12 chased after him, they left some special marks of the 5 elements secked on the ground, and so Old 7 chased after them. Gooden patrolled and hunted at the same time, and in the blink of an eye, he had a wild boar on his back. There were a lot of wild boars here, and he could kill one easily. Of course, this was in the mountains, and not many people dared to go into the mountains alone. There were a lot of wild animals in the mountains, but there were also a lot of dangers. Leopards, wolves, and other things often appeared. In the distance, there were footsteps, and Gooden became alert. He hunted every day, and he could even recognize the footsteps of all kinds of beasts. The footsteps today definitely didn't belong to a beast, but a person. Although Gooden was alert, he didn't show it on the surface. He looked like a harmless village boy. Soon, the footsteps got nearer, and a man wearing a black bagua robe that looked like an old man, but he looked like he was only in his 30s. Gooden looked at him. He didn't have an axe in his hand, and only had a sword by his waist. Evidently, he wasn't the crazy man with the axe that Lin Yi said. And so, Gooden's face showed a surprised expression. This person was naturally Old 7. He chased all the way to Star West Mountain, and he didn't see Old 6, Old 12, or the Heaven-class weirdo. Instead, he saw a village boy. Old 7 looked at Gooden attentively. He was wearing rough clothes, and he had a wild boar on his back. This was definitely a hunter nearby, and so he didn't have his guard up. He walked over and asked directly, "Kid, you're hunting here?" "Yeah, old grandpa." "Oh no, uncle, where are you from? How come I don't know you?" Gooden asked honestly. "I'm here to look for someone. I'm not a local. Let me ask you something. When you were hunting here, did you see 3 people? 2 of them were dressed like me, and the other one was an old man with 2 big axes in his hands. 7 chased them here, but didn't find any clues left by 12 and 6, so he asked Gooden." Chapter 30:11. 2 people who are dressed like you, and an old man with 2 big axes? Gooden remembered it right away. The 2 dead men beside Lenny, weren't they dressed the same as this guy? Gooden didn't notice it at the time, but now that 7 reminded him, it seemed like this person was with those 2. He was probably the enemy of that crazy axe old man. But to confirm his guess, Gooden asked dumbly, "Is it a crazy old man with an axe? Are they fighting?" Yes. The 2 men in the same attire are from the same gang, and the crazy old man with the battle axe is from the same gang. "Do you see them?" "Were they?" Old 7 quickly nodded, thinking that the country boy in front of him had indeed seen them. "Let me think which direction they went." Gooden scratched his head, acting like he was in deep thought. "Yes, think about it," Old 7 said quickly. "They're going there." Gooden pointed with his left hand and punched with his right, while 7 was turning his head to look. Bam! With a loud bang, Old 7 directly flew into the sky like a flying man. "Ah!" The 7th brother screamed in agony. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. He didn't think that a village boy who was hunting here would attack him without any warning, and with such strength. 7th felt as if his organs were about to explode. This was his last thought before he fell to the ground heavily, dying a wrongful death. He didn't understand why Gooden wanted to kill him, even when he died. Furthermore, how could a village boy possess such extraordinary strength? What was going on? He was a Sky-class late phase peak. In actuality, Old 7's death was quite unjustified. He didn't have his guard up against Gooden at all. Think about it. This was a local village boy hunting here, and he had no grudges with Old 7. They hadn't even met before, so why would he suddenly kill him? Plus, 7 was a Sky-class late phase peak. Even if this village boy attacked him, he wouldn't be able to do anything to him, right? This was one of the things 7 didn't guard against. But Gooden just did it, and it wasn't a normal assassin. He sent 7 straight to heaven. "All right, you'll see those 2 soon," Gooden said honestly to 7's corpse. Gooden was an honest guy, but he wasn't stupid. 7's 2 friends were dead, and his 2 friends were enemies of the axe-wielding freak. Lin, he even said that he was allowed to get close. So didn't that mean that Lin, he was on the freak side? And so, Gooden killed 7 so that he wouldn't disturb Lin Yi's training. After killing 7, Gooden continued patrolling nearby. Lin Yi, who wasn't far away, didn't expect that Gooden had just killed a Sky-class late phase peak from the 5 Elements sect. Although Lin Yi heard some fighting sounds, he thought that Gooden was hunting. Chapter 30:12. Before, Lin Yi was worried about his Sky class, but now he could open an armory. With the Water Element Sky class he got from Snowy Valley, the Ice Element Sky class from Zhang Liju's tomb, and the Gale Lightning boots he got from the Assassins, Lin Yi had a total of 6 Sky class weapons. Of course, Lin Yi didn't know if there were any that he could use. Every Sky class weapon had its own practitioner's arts to bring out its full potential. But Lin Yi didn't have any of them right now. He could only go back and think of something. Gooden had already finished his hunting. He had a wild boar, a deer, and 2 pheasants on his shoulders. It was a full haul, and the 2 walked down the mountain. The morning in the village was bustling. The villagers liked to sleep early and wake up early. This was their life. Every morning, when the rooster crowed, they got up to work. Now, they'd set up a small business at the entrance of the village. People in a mountain village also had the habit of going to the market in the morning. Even if there was no big market, the small market at the entrance of the village still made them very happy every morning. Here, Gooden, you're back from hunting? What's a good game today? Let Uncle Wong choose first. Uncle Wong was in charge of the banquets in the village. Whoever had a wedding or a funeral, he would be in charge of the banquet. There weren't many big restaurants in the village, and every family would either have to cook or invite people to hold a banquet. Uncle Wong would go back and forth between the villages, doing the banquet business. These years, the villagers were getting rich, and so spending money to invite people to hold a banquet became a custom. Uncle Wong would often buy some game from Gooden, and when he held a banquet, he would put on the important seats like the elders, the head of the family, or the parents' table to show how special they were. It's still wild boar, deer, and pheasant. Which one do you want, Uncle Wong? Gooden didn't hunt those rare animals. Under Yuan's influence, he only hunted some normal animals to sell. It wasn't as profitable as those rare animals, but it was enough to feed his family. Isn't this Lily? You're back. Uncle Wong also knew Lin Yi. He was also an old man in the village. He was the younger brother of Widow Wong, who owned the grocery store at the entrance of the village. Uncle Wong, I came back to see my grandpa. Your business seems to be doing well. Lin Yi greeted Uncle Wong with a smile. Not bad, not bad. Uncle Wong grinned. It seemed that it was not bad. Uncle Wong's shout drew the attention of the other villagers to Lin Yi, who was next to Gooden. It really is Lily. Yeah, Lil E. You came back by yourself this time? E. Your 3 pretty girlfriends didn't come back with you. 3. Lin Yi paused. Didn't he come back with Meng Yao and Yushu last time? He didn't remember Xiao ever coming here. How did she have 3 girlfriends? But Lin Yi thought that Lin Yi was mistaken. The situation was very messy, and all the villagers were talking to Lin Yi. Lin Yi could only nod and smile. After dealing with all of them, Lin Yi finally returned to his house. Lin Yi saw old Lin sitting in the yard, staring blankly. When he saw Lin Yi come back, a smile appeared on his face, but disappeared quickly. He was still as calm as before. He said to Lin Yi faintly, "You're back, Lily." I'm back." Lin Yi felt a warmth in his heart. It seemed that according to last time, the old man had been waiting for him here for the whole morning. The old man acted like he didn't care, as if he was just enjoying the cool air in the yard. But who would do that in the middle of the day? "What took you so long?" Old man Lin asked in a seemingly casual manner. "I ran into some trouble. 3 Sky Class enemies," Lin Yi said calmly. 3 Sky Class? Here? Old Lin's face froze. Why are they here? What kind of power are they from? At this moment, Lin Yi suddenly felt an indescribable domineering aura emanating from old Lin's body, making him, a Sky Class early phase, feel a little pressured. Fortunately, old Lin's expression returned to normal after saying that. "It's 4 practitioners that happened to pass by here. They didn't come for me, but these 4 are related to me," Lin Yi said as he told old Lin about the 4's background and how they died. "Oh, Gooden killed one? It's a good thing he went up the mountain. Otherwise, you'd be repairing it yourself." Old man Lin snorted in dissatisfaction. "Next time, call me directly if you're in trouble." "All right, but I'm fine now, right?" Lin Yi smiled. "Old man, thank you for waiting for me for a day and a night." "Why would I wait for you? I was basking in the sun." Old Lin said indifferently. "You went up the mountain, and you didn't even say you wanted to hunt some wild game for this old man to eat? Do you have any filial piety?" Lin Yi paused. He suddenly remembered that he went up the mountain to hunt some game, but he forgot about it when he met the Sky Class weirdo and old 6, old 7, and old 12. He came back after recovering his strength. Gooden did hunt a bunch, but Lin Yi forgot to ask him for it. "I knew you weren't reliable." "Forget it. I'll make some noodles myself." Old Lin stood up and was about to go into the house to cook. "Old man, let me do it." Lin Yi quickly ran over and started a fire. Starting a fire was as simple as it could get for Lin Yi. He just treated it as a forging fire, burning all the firewood in the stove. Making noodles was Lin Yi's specialty. It was because of this that the miss and Shu accepted him, and the old man was willing to eat the noodles made by Lin Yi. "Aren't you in a hurry to see what you've brought back?" Old Lin asked, seeing how busy Lin Yi was. "I haven't eaten yet either." Lin Yi smiled. "Let's eat first." Old Lin looked at Lin Yi's back and nodded in satisfaction. After eating, Lin Yi went back to his room to study today's loot. Lin Yi wasn't in the mood to study the 3 Sky-class weapons. They looked precious, but Lin Yi didn't have any arts to use with them. Chapter 30:13. Lin Yi was interested in the contents of the small box, as well as the bamboo scroll that the strange man gave him. Lin Yi first opened the small box that he took out from the Xianyuan cave mansion. Although this was the 3rd time that Lin Yi had opened this kind of small wooden box, he was still excited. This was because every time a small box was opened, it meant that Lin Yi's strength would increase, and he would obtain more powerful abilities. The wooden box was opened, but there were no magical weapons inside. Although Lin Yi had already guessed that such a small box could not contain any magical weapons, Lin Yi was still quite disappointed. After all, the words of the 3rd stone door made Lin Yi fantasize that he could obtain a heaven-level magical weapon. Just like the last time, there were 4 neatly folded silk scrolls in the wooden box, which gave Lin Yi a familiar feeling. In the 2nd wooden box that Lin Yi had obtained before, there were also 3 silk scrolls like this. He just didn't know if there was anything else other than the cultivation method of the 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery this time. Without hesitation, Lin Yi reached out and picked up the first silk scroll and carefully opened it. The art of dragon mastery. The 5 words written in seal script leaped into Lin Yi's eyes. Lin Yi had seen the same words twice on the 1st and 2nd level of the art of dragon mastery. Sure enough, there was a mnemonic chant for the 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery. As Lin Yi expected, there was a line of small words under the title of the mantra. It said, 3rd level, butterfly transformation. Similar to the mnemonic chant for the 2nd level of the art of dragon mastery, there was also a line of annotations that exceeded the size of the title. The 1st level of the art of dragon mastery is like the silk of a heavenly silkworm, progressing step by step. The 2nd level is like the white crane spreading its wings and soaring high, transforming the physique. The 3rd stage was like a butterfly breaking out of its cocoon, its strength undergoing a qualitative change. If you want to cultivate the 3rd level, you must first strengthen your meridians. You can complete the 1st step by opening the 3rd stone door. The 2nd step is to gather all the herbs and swallow them to complete the strengthening of your meridians. Remember, do not cultivate before the meridian reinforcement is completed. These 2 lines of annotations reminded Lin Yi of the 2nd level of body tempering. Back then, Lin Yi couldn't wait to temper his body. As a result, he tampered with the herbs in the body tempering formula, causing Lin Yi to go berserk and almost die. But this time, Lin Yi had learned his lesson and decided to use the method of the small box to strengthen his meridians. He would not tamper with any of the herbs. If Lin Yi's guess was right, one of the remaining 3 silk scrolls would be the so-called meridian reinforcement method. As for what the remaining 2 were, Lin Yi didn't know for the time being. But this was also the only thing that Lin Yi was glad about. This time, there was 1 more silk scroll compared to the previous time. That was equivalent to having 1 more benefit. Lin Yi put down the 3rd level mantra in his hand and took out the 2nd silk scroll from the small box. He opened it carefully and read it. The 4 big words meridian reinforcement formula were reflected in Lin Yi's eyes. Sure enough, this was also a formula. It was similar to the body tempering formula previously, but the herbs in it were completely different. Under the meridian reinforcement formula, there were 4 big words. On it was written, Heaven-level magic weapon forging technique. After seeing these words, Lin Yi suddenly became very excited. He did not care about studying the meridian reinforcement formula first. Instead, he focused all his attention on the heaven-level magic weapon forging technique. Isn't this the heaven-level magic weapon that I've always wanted for myself? It turned out that the Xinyuan Cave Mansion did not provide heaven-level magic weapons. Instead, it let Lin Yi forge it himself. Thinking of this, Lin Yi quickly continued to read. Under the words heaven-level magic weapon forging technique, there is a small line of words. The art of forging technique is intermediate chapter. Jade pendant condensation is elementary chapter. Only by mastering the condensation of the jade pendant space can one attempt to forge a heaven-level magic weapon. Seeing this, Lenny could not help but swear. Fuck, what a scam. I can't even condense the jade pendant space now. How can I forge a magic weapon? Even I can't skillfully use and control the forging fire, right? Jiao Lao, why do I feel like I can't keep up? Lenny asked, a little depressed. I've already opened the third stone door, and I haven't even finished refining the jade pendant space. Isn't this too slow? It's not slow, Jiao Yazi said. Who told you to reach the second stage of the art of dragon mastery so quickly? With Xinyan's help and the 5 inheritances helping you, your second stage of the art of dragon mastery has reached perfection in advance. That's why you haven't mastered the forging fire yet. Once you've mastered the second stage, you'll be able to start. You can even master a grand perfection? Lenny asked, stunned. Perfection only means that your heart has reached perfection. But even if your heart has reached this level, you can't fully unleash the power of this level. That's what I mean, Jiao Yazi explained. For example, if a practitioner's strength reached Sky Class late phase peak, but they did it in an instant. Although their strength has stabilized, you can't grasp this strength and use it to its fullest. Do you understand what I mean? I understand. You're saying that I leveled up too quickly, so I haven't mastered it yet. Lin Yi nodded, understanding Jiao Yazi's meaning. This made Lin Yi feel a lot more at ease. He continued reading. Compared to the meridian strengthening formula, Lin Yi was more interested in forging his own magic weapons. But when Lin Yi read on, a helpless and pained expression appeared on his face. After all, there were a lot of rare materials that Lin Yi had never heard of before. Fine steel, dark steel, colored steel, charcoal stone, pure yellow jade, blue crystal powder, blood of the pentadragon. There were many more materials than the jade. Other than the colored steel, pure yellow jade, and blue crystal powder, Lin Yi hadn't seen the others before. And when he saw the last material, Lin Yi almost spat out blood. The blood of the pentadragon? He might as well kill Lin Yi. Where is he going to get the blood of the pentadragon? The dragon of 5 evils was very powerful, throwing Lin Yi into the valley with one swipe of its claw. Unless the thing inside the jade came out and asked for it personally, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to get it. Asking Lin Yi to ask for it from the dragon of 5 evils was equivalent to asking for death. Chapter 30:14. Fine steel, dark steel? Lin Yi didn't have it, but Lin Yi had a dark steel rod. Could it be melted down and reused? If it was possible, it would solve a big problem. But other things wouldn't be so easy to find. Pure topaz, blue crystal powder, and colored steel were hard enough to find. The rest of the things would be even harder to find. Thinking of this, Lin Yi was a little discouraged. Jiao Lao? Isn't this a scam? Where can I find these materials? I don't know about this. You have to find a way yourself. Jiao Yazi also didn't know the source of these materials, but he said, anyway, it's not very urgent. You can condense the jade pendant first and then look for it slowly. Sometimes, you may encounter a chance coincidence. Chance coincidence? Lin Yi was slightly stunned, and then he smiled bitterly. It seems that this is the only way. I'd better condense the space of the jade pendant first. After that, Lin Yi put down the second silk file and reached out to pick up the third silk file. What would this file be? Lin Yi was looking forward to it, but he was also a little nervous, because Lin Yi couldn't guess what was in the third silk file. Last time, Lin, he was looking forward to a martial arts technique. The martial arts technique's mental cultivation method was in his hands. What Lin, he was looking forward to now was, it should be a method of using a heaven stage wizard weapon, right? When Lin, he opened the silk file, a look of understanding flashed across Lin Yi's face. Sure enough, this was the mental cultivation method of using a heaven stage wizard weapon. It was the method of using the wizard weapon that he had forged before. However, before Lin, he forged a wizard weapon, this mental cultivation method was useless. Lin, he didn't even look at it carefully, and he closed it and put it back. After all, it was useless for Lin, he to read it now. Lin, he now remembered Jiao Yazi's words. Haste makes waste. It was useless to know the mental cultivation method in advance. He didn't even have a weapon, so how to use it was not important. It was better to take it step by step. It was better to spend the limited time on condensing the forging fire. This Sky-class weapons practitioner's arts weren't too out of Lin Yi's expectations, but the last silk scroll, Lin, he couldn't figure out what was in it, no matter how hard he thought about it. However, the more unknown it was, the more he looked forward to it. This made Lin he a little nervous all of a sudden. After taking a deep breath, Lin he opened the last silk file. However, when Lin he saw the 4 big words, mental cultivation method, on the file, he was a little surprised. Mental cultivation method? What's this? Isn't the art of dragon mastery my mental cultivation method? Where did this mental cultivation method come from? With a very puzzled mood, Lin he calmed down and began to read the content of the mental cultivation method carefully. What kind of mental cultivation method is this? Just these 4 words, and the main body was below. There weren't any subtitles to explain the mental cultivation method. Moreover, this wasn't the end. What made Lin even more puzzled was that the opening paragraph of this mental cultivation method was actually exactly the same as the opening paragraph of the Art of Dragon Mastery's first-level mental cultivation method. Could it be the same thing? Lin, he was slightly stunned. He thought to himself that the person who placed it back then pretended to be a box, because the content of this mental cultivation method was exactly the same as the first level of the Art of Dragon Mastery. However, when Lin he continued reading, he realized something was wrong, because even though the opening paragraph of this mental cultivation method was the same as the opening paragraph of the Art of Dragon Mastery, the content at the back was completely different. Except, even though it was different, Lin he had a familiar feeling. This seemed to be the modified version of the Art of Dragon Mastery, because the circulation pattern of this mental cultivation method seemed to be exactly the same as the Art of Dragon Mastery that Lin he cultivated. However, even though it was extremely similar, when Lin he studied it carefully, he realized that this was completely different. This mental cultivation method seemed to be some kind of supplementary mental cultivation method, and not an independent mental cultivation method. The more he read, the more puzzled Lin he became, because in the middle of this mental cultivation method, there were some empty spaces. And in the empty spaces, there was a paragraph of annotation. On it was written, Switching Mental Cultivation Method. Lin he didn't know what this switching mental cultivation method meant. As he continued reading, it was another supplementary mental cultivation method. However, there were still empty spaces interspersed at the back. The annotation was still switching mental cultivation method, and so on and so forth. Jiao Lao, what kind of mental cultivation method is this? Why is there an empty space in the middle? Switching mental cultivation method here. What kind of mental cultivation method do I want to switch? Lin he finally couldn't help but ask curiously. Oh, this mental cultivation method. I remember now. This is the same as the previous martial arts technique. They are both supplementary. Jiao Yazi recovered his memory, and he didn't seem to be clueless. Supplementary mental cultivation method? I can see this, but what does it mean by the same as the previous martial arts technique? Lin he was puzzled. That martial arts technique is an all-purpose martial arts technique. This mental cultivation method, could it be? Lin he suddenly had a flash of inspiration, and he thought of something. You got it. It's what you're thinking. Jiao Yazi nodded and said, "All-purpose mental cultivation method?" Lin Yi blurted out in shock. "That's right. It's the all-purpose mental cultivation method. Together with this mental cultivation method, the interspersed space in the middle can be used to switch the other mental cultivation method. Then you can smoothly use the other mental cultivation method," Jiao Yazi explained. "For example, if you want to use someone else's mental cultivation method, you can use this method to smoothly use it." So magical. Linny knew that the mental cultivation method was basically one and only for a practitioner. A practitioner could only practice one type of mental cultivation method at the same time, and they couldn't change the mental cultivation method at will. This was also the reason why he didn't find a mental cultivation method for Meng Yao and Shu. After all, whether it was suitable or not was a big problem. But there was actually an all-purpose mental cultivation method. This was a little out of Lin Yi's expectation. But thinking about it, even martial arts techniques could be all-purpose, so why couldn't mental cultivation methods be all-purpose? Moreover, the art of dragon mastery was a mental cultivation method that could produce all-purpose qi. It could be considered as an all-purpose mental cultivation method. Chapter 30:15. I got it. Lenny nodded. Then are there any drawbacks or limitations to this all-purpose mantra? You'll find out if you keep reading. This mantra can only be practiced after the art of dragon mastery has reached the 3rd level. Otherwise, even if you practice it, you won't be able to simulate it. Jiao Yazi said. The 3rd level. Lin Yi's heart was filled with excitement. The first thing he thought of was the joint attack mantra he got from the Hidden Zhuang house. If this all-purpose mantra was effective and could simulate the joint attack mantra, then Lin Yi could work with Han Jingjing, Guan Xian, and even Boss Bai to concoct pills. Concocting all kinds of 3rd-level pills wouldn't be a dream. When everyone's strength reached Sky Class, they might even be able to concoct 4th-level pills. However, the prerequisite was that the 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery was perfected. This seemed easy. It didn't take long for the 2nd level to be perfected, but that was due to luck. The 3rd level might not be so lucky. Thinking of this, Lin Yi took a deep breath. This gave him more motivation to practice. If he could use this mantra, then Lin Yi and the people around Lin Yi would have a qualitative leap in strength. It could be said that reaching the peak of Sky Class was no longer a dream. Although Lin Yi wasn't good at concocting pills, Han Jingjing, Guan Xian, and Boss Bai were. Lin Yi only needed to provide support for the 3 of them, allowing their strengths to fuse together for concocting pills. However, after the excitement, Lin Yi calmed down. After all, the 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery couldn't be reached in a day, so Lin Yi decided not to think about it for now. Instead, he decided to practice the 3rd level of the art of dragon mastery and condense the forging fire. Although the items were already in his hands, Lin Yi still planned to stay at home for a while. After all, Lin Yi wanted to spend some time with him. So in the following days, Lin Yi lived a simple life in the village. Other than training, Lin Yi and Air Gooden went hunting in the West Star Mountain every day, satisfying old Lin's appetite. Of course, with old Lin's strength, he was more than capable of hunting in the mountains. But the problem was that Lin Yi wasn't home, so old Lin rarely used the fire. As for the bamboo scroll that the strange man gave him, Lin Yi didn't open it. This was given to Lier by the strange man. Although in the eyes of the strange man, Lin Yi was Lier, Lin Yi wasn't the kind of person who would steal other people's things. Lin Yi decided to let Faubert take a look at it after he returned. If Faubert agreed to let him see it, then he could read the contents openly. Of course, Lin Yi also understood that this was just a formality. With the relationship between Faubert's family and Lin Yi, even without the incident with Sun Jingyi, Faubert would not hesitate to let him see it because of his family. He even taught him the Frenzy Fire Fist. What was there to hide? But this was out of respect for Faubert. After Lin Yi returned, he put away the bamboo scroll and never touched it again. Heavenly Elixir Sect, Ancestor Schwanchen's room, Little One rushed over from the Five Elements sect because something big happened in the Five Elements sect. Ancestor Xianxin was discussing Lin Yi's matter with Kong Mingming. These days, Kong Mingming was extremely depressed, but he didn't dare to say it out. He could only endure it. The reason was that the Silkworm transformation wanted to betroth Little Peach to Kong Mingming. Little Peach was very happy, but Kong Mingming was not. If Little Peach married him, she would lose her position as a maid to serve the Silkworm transformation. Kong Mingming originally pursued Little Peach because she was the favorite of the Silkworm transformation. But now that she lost her position as a maid, what was the use? Little Peach looked like an ordinary woman. How could Kong Mingming like her? He used to play with beauties like Xiao Fan, and he still wanted to touch Guan Xin. It could be seen that Kong Mingming's standards were still very high. To put it bluntly, he was only using Little Peach. However, Ancestor Xianxin happily told this matter to Kong Mingming. Kong Mingming couldn't say much. After all, the Silkworm transformation had already made a decision, and Ancestor Xianxin didn't know the truth. If he told the truth, not only would Ancestor Xianxin be unhappy, the Silkworm transformation would also be unhappy, and Little Peach would be even more unhappy. If Little Peach didn't marry and continue to stay by the Silkworm transformation side and said a few bad things about him, Kong Mingming, even if he was the disciple of Ancestor Xianxin, facing the Silkworm transformation's anger would be enough to make him suffer. Therefore, the current situation was that he had to take Little Peach whether he wanted it or not. He had to marry her. Therefore, Kong Mingming could only pretend to be happy and said, "Thank you, Master, for caring about this disciple's private life. Well, you're my disciple. I heard that you like Little Peach, so I can't ignore you. While you're giving the human cauldron to young sect leader Tian, I want Little Peach back for you. This is actually an opportunity that you've found yourself. If it wasn't for this human cauldron, Little Peach would have to serve young sect leader Tian for a period of time. Then you would have to wait." Ancestor Xianxin said. "Yes, it seems that this disciple has done a good deed." Kong Mingming nodded and said, but in his heart, he was very sad. He wanted to slap himself twice. This human cauldron thing was really fucked up. He thought it was a good thing, but now it seemed that he was digging his own grave. Not only was Ancestor Xianxin not very happy, but he was also unhappy now. By the way, Master, that Lin, he has returned to normal. Are we still going to refine the extreme qi gathering pill? Kong Mingming suddenly thought of a very important question and asked quickly. Well, that's about to be refined. Ancestor Xianxin nodded and said, but there is no hurry for the time being. You should first refine a marrow and bone cleansing pill for the everyday and everyday sect. After all, they're also considered to be our cooperating sect. Yes, Master. Although Kong Mingming wanted to refine the extreme qi gathering pill for Lin E first, and then eat Lin E to death, he could only listen to Ancestor Xianxin's instructions when he was asked to refine the marrow and bone cleansing pill. While the two of them were talking, there was a rapid knock on the door of Ancestor Xianxin's room. Ancestor Xianxin frowned and asked, "Who is it? What is it?" "Master, it's me, Little E." Little E's voice came from outside. Chapter 30:16. Master, bad news. Something big has happened. Little E said anxiously as soon as he entered the door. He did not look like his usual calm self at all. Instead, he looked more like a young boy. Of course, Little E's appearance was actually quite young, but his actual age was not that young anymore. But even so, Little One's age was still relatively young among the disciples of the Xianxin ancestor. At the very least, Little 6 and Little 7 were older than him. Of course, a heaven rank expert at Kong Xiaoming's age was considered a rather heaven-defying existence. There was nothing that could be copied. The heaven stage experts of the Five Elements sect were all genuine heaven stage experts. They had not taken the qi-gathering pill to increase their strength. After all, these people hoped to break through to the way of heaven. Once they took the qi-gathering pill, they would not be able to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth from the outside world. How could they break through to the way of heaven? Even if they ate the chi-gathering pill and became a great perfection expert with the strength of the late stage of the heaven stage, they would not be fated with the way of heaven. Who would do such a stupid thing? Little E, what happened? Why are you in such a hurry? Ancestor Xianxian frowned. He could not think of what could have happened to the Five Elements sect to make little E so anxious. Master, sixth brother, seventh brother, and 12th brother should have already. As he spoke up to hear, little one instantly felt a little sad. They were all fellow disciples who had been with him for decades, and they were gone just like that. How could he not feel sad? Already what? What happened to them? Ancestor Xuanxian's heart skipped a beat. He had a bad feeling. Old 6, Old 7, and Old 12 are probably no longer in this world. Little one said sadly. Their soul jade tablets are all broken. What? Ancestor Xianxian suddenly stood up and looked at little E in disbelief. What's going on? What the hell is going on? Tell me clearly, aren't 6th, 7th, and 12th cultivating in the sect? How did they die so inexplicably? Master, this is all little Yi's fault. I should not have let them chase after that crazy old man from the Fiery Lion sect. Little E knelt on the ground and said with self-blame. The crazy old man from the Fiery Lion sect? That crazy old man? He came to the Five-Element sect again? Patriarch Xianxian raised his eyebrows and asked. Yes, he sneaked into the Five-Elements sect and stole the mantra to use the spirit weapon of the 11th. He has visited our Five-Elements sect more than once before, but he always slipped away. This time, he happened to run into the 6th, 7th, and 12th brothers who were heading to the Sutras Pavilion. So they started fighting. Little one hurriedly said, the sound of the battle attracted me, and that old lunatic escaped, while Old 6, Old 7, and Old 12 all chased after him. I saw that Old 6 and Old 7 were experts at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage, and with Old 12's help, it should be more than enough to kill that old lunatic, so I didn't care about him and let them chase. In the end, all their soul jade tablets shattered. Patriarch Black Earth's breathing hastened as he asked. Yes, the patrolling disciple reported that the soul jade tablets of Old 6, Old 7, and Old 12 were all shattered. Little one said in pain, it's not your fault. You can get up. Patriarch Black Earth waved his hand and said, logically speaking, Little 6 and Little 7 are experts at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage, and that old lunatic is only at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage. 2 against 1, with the help of Old 12, there should be no suspense in killing him. Could it be that something happened during this process? Or has that old lunatic already broken through to the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage? Even if he has the strength of the great perfection, under the encirclement of the 3 of them, it should only be a draw. If the 3 of them can't beat him, they can still retreat, but it shouldn't be to the extent of being completely annihilated. Little one said, that's true. Could it be that they met the help of an expert? However, even if an expert came, it would need to be an expert at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage to be able to kill all of them. But there are only a few experts at the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage, and I know all of them. Who would come out to help an old lunatic kill my disciple? Experts who can reach the peak of the late stage of Heaven stage also know of the existence of our Five-Elements sect and definitely recognize the clothes of Little 6 and the others. That's really strange. Little one also fell into deep thought. Previously, he only came to report in a hurry, but he didn't think so deeply into things. Now that he thought about it, this matter was full of strangeness. Lord Master, eldest senior brother, do you think it's Lin Yi who interfered? Kong Ming pondered for a moment and said, previously, didn't you say that Lin Yi was in cahoots with that old lunatic when he was in the Wulongheo mountain range? Lin Yi. When Patriarch Black Earth heard this name, he couldn't help but shake his head. Zhao Ming, I know you hate Lin Yi in your heart and want me to kill him, but don't I also want Lin Yi to die? It's just that I'm restricted by that guy Xintian. He helped us cultivate the Wood Inheritor, so I can't fall out with him. We can only live in peace for the time being. If you want to touch Lin, you must be reasonable, otherwise you can only use underhanded means. If you want to say that Lin E, a wandering cultivator who has just advanced to the heaven stage, can kill little 6, little 7, and little 12, that's completely unrealistic. Moreover, Lin E and that old lunatic actually don't have much of a relationship. That person is a lunatic. What relationship can he have with Lin E? Yes, how can the experts of our 5 elements sect be ordinary experts? They can all fight above their level. It's already not bad for Lin E to be able to beat old 12. Little One also said disapprovingly, if Lin E has such ability, then we might as well commit suicide. After cultivating for so many years and reaching the peak of the late stage of heaven stage, his strength is still not as good as a wandering cultivator who has just advanced to the early stage of heaven stage. Oh, Kong Ming Ming just mentioned it casually, but it had to be said that his broken mouth often hit the mark by a fluke. It was like this when he was in the Kong family, and it was still the same when he was in the Heavenly Elixir sect. However, there are not many people who believed him. Okay, let's not study this anymore. Are there any clues? Patriarch Black Earth asked. No, I don't know where they are now, so there's no way to start looking for clues. Little One shook his head helplessly. Old 6 and Old 12 only began to leave marks after Old 7 was injured in order to make Old 7 chase after them. However, the marks were already very far away from the 5 Elements sect, so the people of the 5 Elements sect couldn't find a place where they fell at all. Chapter 30:17. Yes, this is also the reason why I am helpless. If I can find that old thing, I will personally kill him. Little E said hatefully. Let's put this matter aside for now. Since you are here, I have something to ask you to do. Patriarch Xianshun waved his hand and said, Go and investigate the secular Sun family. See who in the Sun family knows how to use the healing mantra and has not healed others. Oh, what do you mean? Little E was stunned. He did not understand what Patriarch Xianshun meant. After all, he usually did not pay attention to the secular world and basically did not know about the secular Sun family. Kong Ming Ming, tell Little E about the secular Sun family. Patriarch Xianshun instructed Kong Ming Ming. Yes, master. Kong Ming Ming nodded, then turned to look at Little E and said, Eldest senior brother, the secular Sun family is like this. As he spoke, Kong Xiaoming told Little One about the Sun family in the secular world, as well as the treatment of Tagan Dragon. Oh, in that case, there is hope for Tagan Dragon to recover? Little E was stunned and was pleasantly surprised. This was the only thing worth being happy about after the deaths of Old 6, Old 7, and Old 12. It's possible. Kong Ming Ming nodded and said, but I don't know much about the secular Sun family. You also know that our Kong family was not even an ordinary family in the past. We can't come into contact with these secrets. In fact, to put it bluntly, Kong Ming Ming's family was too low-end, and the 5 Elements sect was too high-end, so they did not know about the secular Sun family. Okay, then I will start investigating. Little One hurriedly nodded and agreed. Master, about Old 6, Old 7, and Old 12, don't worry about that for now. If there's really an existence that can kill them, then its whereabouts won't be something you can easily investigate. Patriarch Xianshun muttered in his heart. Who did this? However, on the surface, he was very calm, as if this matter was not worth mentioning. He waved his hand and said, I will investigate this matter myself. Yes, master, this disciple will go back now. Little One hurriedly responded, cupped his fists, and left. After Little One left, the Black Earth Patriarch sighed. He suddenly realized that not everything was under his control. For example, he was still powerless against the unknown changes that had occurred today. In East Ocean City, a dusty Land Rover suddenly stopped in front of Lin Yi's mansion, and a handsome young man got out of the car. However, this young man was a bit coquettish. He was wearing bright red clothes, and if he were in a public place, he would be the center of attention. However, in this villa area, basically no one passed by, so his dressing didn't attract anyone's attention. The young man got out of the car, held a map in his hand, and carefully compared it for a long time. After confirming that the address was correct, he rang the doorbell. Today was the weekend, and Lin Yi wasn't at home, so Meng Yao and Yushu didn't go out either. Instead, they quietly waited at home for Lin Yi to come back. At this time, someone rang the doorbell, which surprised the two. Shu, go see who's here first. I'll take out the clothes from the washing machine and hang them up. Meng Yao was washing clothes, so she said to Yushu, who was watering the flowers. Okay. Yushu walked out of the villa with a kettle. When she came to the villa's courtyard, she saw a young man in fiery red standing outside. She asked curiously, "Who are you? Who are you looking for?" Yushu didn't know the person in front of her. She was sure that Lin Yi didn't have such a friend. "Hello, you're young hero Lin's bro Lin's family, right?" The fiery young man cupped his fists respectfully. "I'm from a southern suburbs Flaming Mountain sect. The young master of Flaming Mountain was Xianyan. I have something to discuss with young hero Lin, bro Lin." Flaming Mountain? Was Xianyan? I don't know him. Yushu's face changed slightly as she waved her hand subconsciously, gesturing for Xianyan to leave. "What kind of nonsense are you talking about?" "Aurora Borealis." "Ugh, pretty lady, it's normal that you don't know me, but you get used to it. This is young hero Lin's bro Lin's house, right?" Hua Xianyun asked awkwardly. I don't know you. There's no young hero Lin here, and there's no bro Lin. Just leave." With that, Yushu turned around to go back into the house, ignoring him. "Don't. Open the door first. We could talk things out. This is definitely young hero Lin's villa. The property management company has confirmed it." Huashou looked at the markings on the map, then looked at the house number. He called out curiously, "Beauty, please wait." Meng Yao had just finished hanging the clothes and was walking out of the villa when she saw Yushu walking back with Hua Xianyun yelling nonstop. "Shu, who's this guy? Is he here for Lin Yi?" I don't know him, he's a psycho." Yushu's expression was a little unnatural, and she looked unusually agitated. She turned around abruptly and poured the water on Hua Xianyun. "Why aren't you leaving? I'll call the cops and sue you for harassment." Hua Xianyun didn't expect Yushu to pour water on him like that, and he wasn't prepared for it. He was drenched in the water, and he looked a little embarrassed. But he was here for an alliance with Lin Yi, and he didn't dare get angry. Who knew who this big-breasted girl was to Lin Yi? What if she was Lin Yi's wife? Offending her was the same as offending Lin Yi, and so Hua Xianyun could only put on a smile and speak carefully. "I'm really here for someone. Can we talk nicely? I'm not a bad guy." "Shu, what's going on?" Meng Yao frowned. She didn't understand what Shu was doing, messing with a guest like this. "Don't mind him, Yao Yao. He's in the wrong place," Yushu said as she pulled Meng Yao into the villa. "Wait, this is Lin Bro's villa, isn't it? I'm here to visit him." Hua Xianyun yelled. "You're here for Lin Yi?" Meng Yao turned around and looked at Hua Xianyun, confused by Shu's actions. "Shu, he's here for Lin Yi, right?" "Ugh, Yao Yao, this guy doesn't look like a good guy," Yushu said. Chapter 3018. Meng Yao was probably Lin Yi's concubine now that Yushu was calling Meng Yao sis. He didn't dare offend her, and could only ask meekly, "Who are you? Why are you here to see Lin Yi?" Meng Yao blushed, but didn't refute. She didn't even know this guy, so there was no need to explain so much to him. Yushu, on the other hand, froze when she heard the way Meng Yao addressed her. She realized that she'd misunderstood something. Meng Yao was here for Lin Yi, not for her. Yushu subconsciously thought that Meng Yao was here for her, and even said that they'd get to know each other better. That was why Yushu reacted so strongly. Now that she heard Meng Yao call her sister-in-law, she was very happy. "Oh, at least you know your place. I'm Shield Bro's concubine." "Shield Bro?" Meng Yao paused. He didn't know who Yushu was talking about, but he channeled his practitioner's arts and evaporated the water on his body. He was a fire practitioner, so it was easy for him to do that. "You're a practitioner?" Meng Yao was surprised, but she turned to Shu. "Why did you say that Lin Yi wasn't here?" Oh, that's because he's looking for Lin Yi or Lin Bro. There's only Lin Yi Shield Bro here, No Lin E or Lin bro. That's why Shu chased him away. Yushu explained. Meng Yao clearly felt that Yushu was talking nonsense, but she couldn't ask in front of outsiders. She explained to Meng Yao. Shu just calls Lin E shield bro. There might be a misunderstanding. I'm Meng Yao, the young master of the southern suburbs, Flaming Mountain sect. I'm here to visit Brother Lin. Could you two please introduce me to him? Even though Flaming Cloud was puzzled by Shu's reaction, he finally understood what was going on and quickly explained. Fiery Mountain's Fiery Cloud? Meng Yao nodded. She'd never heard of this sect before, but it was clear that this guy wasn't hostile. If he was, he wouldn't be talking to her so nicely if Yushu had splashed water all over him. Lin Yi's out on some business. He's not back yet. Is there something you need from him? It's like this, our Fiery Mountain sect has a deep grudge with Zhang Naipeo of the Everyday and Everyday sect. Have you guys heard of him? Hua Hanyan asked. Zhang Naipeo. Meng Yao blinked. He's a classmate of mine, Shu, and Lin. Yeah, you're all classmates. Hua Shou was momentarily stunned, his expression changing slightly. Could it be that you're also disciples of the Everyday and Everyday sect? How could we be disciples of the Everyday and Everyday sect? Meng Yao paused as well, not understanding what was going on. So you're saying that Naipeo is your classmate? Hua Hanyan didn't think it was possible. If Lin Yi and Naipeo were from the same sect, then he wouldn't have done anything to Naipeo. He came from an ancient sect, so he wasn't too clear on the concept of classmates. He thought that they were from the same sect, but now that he thought about it, he understood. Could it be that you and Naipeo are classmates from the common world? Yeah, we're high school classmates. Meng Yao nodded. High school? Hua Hanyan paused once more. He didn't know about Naipeo's discipleship, and with how strong Naipeo was, he thought that Naipeo was a core disciple of the Everyday and Everyday sect since he was young. But Meng Yao said that they were high school classmates, and Meng Yao didn't seem that old. Didn't that mean that Naipeo had only been in the Everyday and Everyday sect for a while? He quickly asked. Then may I ask, what year are you guys in? First year of university, why? Meng Yao felt that Hua Hongyan's question was a little strange. Then, so you're saying that Naipeo has been in the Everyday and Everyday sect for 3 years at most? Hua Hongyan was in disbelief. Naipeo had gotten this strong in such a short time. Was it because the Everyday and Everyday sect was too strong, or was Naipeo's talent too overpowered? Less than a year. Meng Yao shook her head. His strength is indeed quite fast, even a little faster than Lin Yi. At first, Lin Yi was a golden class, and Naipeo was just a normal person, but now, both of them are sky class early phase. Huff. Cough, cough, cough. Meng Yao's words made Hua Hanyan cough nonstop. He could admit that Naipeo was fast. After all, the Everyday and Everyday sect was one of the strongest sects in the ancient times. But Lin Yi was a freelancer, and yet he'd gone from golden class to sky class in less than a year. What kind of concept was that? One had to know that it was extremely difficult for a freelancer to break through, especially when Lin Yi was still so young. This was something that Hua Hanyan couldn't imagine. How was this Naipeo faster than Lin Yi? It was Lin Yi who knew how many times faster than Naipeo. How could a freelancer and a sect disciple be compared? And Hua Hanyan suddenly realized that Lin Yi was still in Earth class late phase before, wasn't he? He'd been able to beat Naipeo in the test as an Earth class late phase, but how long had it been? And now Lin Yi had stepped into Sky class early phase? Didn't that make him even stronger? As far as Hua Hanyan was concerned, Lin Yi's Sky class early phase was a lot stronger than Naipeo's. If Naipeo was still Sky class early phase, then Lin Yi would be able to beat him. What's wrong? Meng Yao looked at Hua Hanyan, surprised. Actually, Meng Yao had pointed out Lin Yi's strength because she didn't trust him. She'd brought out Lin Yi's strength so that Hua Hanyan wouldn't dare act recklessly if he really had ulterior motives. It's nothing. Brother Lin is strong indeed. May I ask when he'll be back? Hua Hanyan asked. That's hard to say. If you want to find him, you can come here often. Meng Yao said. Then, can I stay here and wait for Brother Lin to come back? Hua Hanyan asked. His way of thinking was that of the Jianghu. As far as he was concerned, visiting someone and staying in someone else's house was very normal. After all, many ancient sects were deep in the mountains and forests, and there were very few who had inns. Most of them stayed in other sects' houses. That's not really convenient. We're not that familiar with each other anyway. Meng Yao rejected his request. Chapter 3019. Oh, Chen Tian, this is the young master of Flaming Mountain, Hua Shoyan. Have you heard of him? Meng Yao introduced. He's here to visit Lin Yi. Oh, Hua Shoyan? Chen Tian paused, but he still extended his hand. Hello, I'm Lin Yi's follower, Wu Chen Tian of the Common House Wu, an Earth-class late phase peak. What? Common House Wu? Earth-class late phase peak? Hua Shoyan jumped. A common house had an Earth-class late phase peak? What was going on? Had he stayed in the ancient sects for too long that he didn't know what was going on outside? How could a common house be as strong as a hidden house? And he was just a junior, an Earth-class late phase peak. Compared to the ancient sects, this wasn't too far off, was it? Chen Tian was afraid that Hua Shoyan was up to no good, so he pointed out his strength first. Seeing the surprised look on Hua Shoyan's face, he continued. That's right. Our boss has a lot of followers like the Hidden House Shuang, House Han, and House Pai. They're all Earth-class late phase peak. Chen Tian being an Earth-class late phase peak wasn't a big deal, but Hua Shoyan was surprised that all of Lin Yi's followers were Earth-class late phase peak. Was this a coincidence or something else? But as far as Hua Shoyan knew, even Hidden House disciples couldn't have a large number of Earth-class late phase peak, right? Could it be that their strength had something to do with Lin Yi? Otherwise, why would they all be stuck at Earth-class late phase peak? Not more, not less. With that thought, Hua Shoyan felt that visiting Lin Yi was the right decision. Lin Yi was much stronger than he thought. All right, since Brother Lin isn't here, I'll set up camp nearby and wait for him to come back. Hua Shoyan said, I have a tent in the car. I've been staying in the tent all this time, so I'm used to it. You want to stay at the entrance? Meng Yao felt that it wasn't polite to let a guest stay at the door. She wanted to let Firecloud go back first, but he was determined to wait here. Meng Yao hesitated and said to Shu, why don't we let him come in and stay with Wu Qintian? No. Yushu yelped in response, but realized that she was overreacting. She quickly explained, I can't sleep at night if someone I'm not familiar with moves in. Although Yushu was temporarily sure that Firecloud wasn't here to cause trouble for her, she was still afraid that Firecloud would find out as time went on. She didn't want to have anything to do with Firecloud, and she naturally rejected him. Meng Yao frowned as she looked at Shu's determined face, but she couldn't bring it up anymore. After all, Shu was part of the villa, and she couldn't ignore Shu's opinion. But Meng Yao knew that it wasn't because Yushu couldn't sleep. A few days ago, Old Pai, Old Han, and a bunch of other people stayed in the villa, and Yushu didn't seem to be out of place. It's fine. I'm quite used to living here. Firecloud was trouble. He didn't seem to have offended Yushu at all, did he? Why did it seem like she didn't like him? You can't stay here, either. Go back and wait. Maybe you can leave your contact number, and I'll get Shield Bro to contact you when he comes back. Yushu didn't want to see Firecloud every day. She wouldn't be in a good mood if she saw him. Yushu didn't have a good impression of Flaming Mountain at all. If it weren't for this sect, her parents wouldn't have been captured, and they wouldn't have been threatened by House Yu. Even if Hanyun looked innocent, Yushu didn't like him. But Firecloud was really helpless. He looked at Meng Yao and Qintian. I don't have any bad intentions. I'm just here to visit Lin Bro, Master Lin. Shu, no matter what, this is Lin Yi's guest. He's not staying at your house. Are you not letting him stay outside? Meng Yao felt that it was a little unreasonable. You had to have a reason to not let him stay outside, right? Wasn't this just unreasonable? Hua Mingyun was, after all, the young master of an ancient sect. At this time, he was really feeling wronged. He was here to visit Lin Yi, and he didn't stay at his house. Couldn't he stay at his door? Even a clay figurine would have a temper. Firecloud didn't have a fire? Of course, Firecloud didn't dare to have a fire. He could clearly feel that if he left, Yushu wouldn't tell him even if Lin Yi came back. He decided to act shamelessly. This doorstep is a public area, not your house. I'm staying here, what can you do? I'll stay here. With that, Firecloud drove the car to the public parking lot in the villa area and set up a tent in the grass, ignoring Yushu. Mengyao shrugged helplessly. She didn't care about Firecloud, but Yushu was the problem. Why was she reacting so strongly? All right, Shu, let's go back. Don't worry about him. He's staying outside. He won't affect us. Mengyao pulled Yushu. Man, all right. What if he takes Shu away? Yao Yao won't be able to see Shu anymore. Yushu mumbled. What nonsense are you talking about? Why would he take you away? He's here for Lin Yi, isn't he? Mengyao was curious about Shu's behavior today. She waited until they entered the villa before asking. Shu, what's wrong with you today? Why do you look so weird? Does this person have something against you? I don't know. Anyway, Shu just doesn't like him. I don't want him here. Yushu said, then we have to talk to Lin Yi, right? Why don't you give Lin Yi a call and tell him about this? Let's see what he says. Mengyao didn't have a choice. If Shu didn't say anything, there was no point in asking. But she had to talk to the person involved, right? All right, I'll call Shield Bro. Yushu hesitated and nodded. With that, Yushu picked up the phone and walked upstairs. Mengyao was confused. Shu, why do you have to go upstairs to make a call? Can't you just call downstairs? Don't you want to mess around? Oh, that. It's like this. I miss Shield Bro, and I want to talk to him. Wu Chintian is downstairs, I'm sorry. Yushu said. Chapter 30-20. Chintian shrugged awkwardly, finding it weird. Yushu kept saying that she wanted to be Lin Yi's small wife in front of him. Was there a time when she was embarrassed? I'll go make the call. Yushu didn't say much and went upstairs. Mengyao wanted to follow her, but Chintian was there too. He'd think that she was eavesdropping on Yushu's secret if she went up, but the Mist didn't think that Shu had anything to hide. She'd go up and ask if it was any other time. Yushu went upstairs and dialed Lin Yi's number. Lin Yi was cooking for old Lin when his phone rang. It was Shu's number, and Lin Yi quickly picked it up. Shu, what's up? Under normal circumstances, Mengyao and Yushu wouldn't call when Lin Yi was outside, unless something really happened at home. Shield Bro, it's like this. There's someone called Hoi Xianyan from Flaming Mountain looking for you. He's camped outside our villa right now. Don't come back. Yushu said urgently to Lin. Hey. What Flaming Mountain? Hoi Xianyan. Why is he looking for me? Is he after me? All the more reason for me to go back. Lin Yi blinked, not understanding what was going on. Don't come back. He's a Sky Class late phase peak. You can't beat him even if you come back. Yushu said, he'll leave by then if you come back later. Sky Class late phase peak? Lin Yi blinked. Then wouldn't he be after you and Yao Yao if I don't go back? No, he wouldn't dare. That's because the ancients couldn't just attack normal people in the common world. Shield Bro's a practitioner. He's different. Yushu said, making up a story based on the information she got from Lin Yi. But what she said was possible, and so Lin Yi nodded, believing her. Then I should go back too, right? I can't just hide, can I? It's fine. He doesn't have any bad intentions towards you. He just wants your help, a super troublesome one. He wants you to help him kill Zhang Naipeo. Isn't that just asking for trouble? So, it's enough to make him retreat. Yushu started making up a story based on what Hua Hongyun had asked Naipeo, coming up with this excuse. Oh, is that so? This time, Lin Yi believed Yushu's words even more. After all, there was a disciple from Fire Mountain called Master Yang who got killed by Naipeo in the Sky Elixir sex test. It made sense that Fire Mountain would ask Lin Yi to help them get revenge. After all, Zhang Naipeo's arts and techniques were extremely powerful, and he was the only one who could counter him right now. It was only natural that the Fiery Mountain people would ask for help. But Lin Yi really didn't want to help because Naipeo had returned to the everyday and everyday sect. If Lin Yi went looking for trouble, wouldn't that be suicide? The everyday and everyday sect didn't just have one Zhang Naipeo. There were many other masters. It was already good enough that they didn't come looking for trouble with Lin Yi, but now that Lin Yi had come looking for them, they wouldn't let him go so easily. And so, Lin Yi didn't want to accept this kind of task. And if he rejected Hui Xianyun, that would mean offending an ancient sect like Hui Xianyun. While Lin Yi wasn't afraid of offending people, it was best to avoid making enemies out of nowhere. Just like what Shu said, if Hui Xianyun couldn't wait for Lin Yi, then he'd leave on his own. That was the best-case scenario. And so, Lin Yi sighed, "All right, I'll wait a bit before going back. But help me take a look at this guy. If he doesn't have any bad intentions, then I'll go back early. After all, it's up to me to help." "Okay, but I think he's a bad guy." "Shu, keep Shu bro updated on what's going on here," Shu said. After hanging up, Lin Yi shook his head. Why did this guy from Hui Xianyun come over? Was this a good thing or a bad thing? But thinking about Hui Xianyun, Lin Yi decided to give Faubert a call and ask. After all, Faubert's sect was also a fire element sect. Maybe he had some connection with Hui Xianyun. This way, Lin Yi could get more information about Hui Xianyun. With that thought, Lin Yi called Faubert. "Lily?" Faubert had been extremely busy these days. His new company had taken root in Donghai, and he had given Fatty Lai a large sum of money. Faubert and Chu Pengzhan had to work even harder to earn money. They didn't even have time to visit Sun Jingyi. "What's the matter?" "I'm in a meeting." "I see. I also wanted to ask about Hui Xianyun." "If you're busy, Faubert, just give me a call later." Lin Yi said. "It's fine, I'm not busy." Faubert heard Lin Yi's question and knew that Lin Yi had something important to ask. He quickly stood up and walked out of the meeting room. "It's just me and Mr. Chu, it's fine. You go first." "All right, Faubert, it's like this. Do you know about this ancient sect called Hui Xianyun?" Lin Yi didn't hold back and asked directly. "Of course I know about Hui Xianyun. Why? Do you have a grudge against this sect?" Faubert asked after some thought. "No, it's like this." Lin Yi told Faubert about Hui Xianyun asking him for help against the Everyday and Every Sun sect. "Oh, so that's how it is." Uncle Fu heaved a sigh of relief after hearing this and said, "Actually, the Blazing Mountain and my sect have quite a deep relationship. You're both from a fire element sect. I've guessed that," Lin Yi said with a nod. "My sect is actually called the Fire Lion sect. The founder of the sect was actually the younger brother of one of Hui Xianyun's sect master. The two of them quarreled and had conflicts with each other, so the younger brother left the sect to establish his own sect. But no matter what, the two sects still have a good relationship with each other. In the future, they will continue to interact with each other," said Uncle Fu. "Ah. So you're saying that you and that Hui Xianyun are relatives, Faubert?" Lin Yi couldn't help but be surprised. "You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.